and welcome to Office Hours with Dr. G. I'm your host, Dr. G, and I'm so glad that you could keep our appointment. Dr. G. Well, tonight's guest actually really needs no introduction. If you don't know about him, I guess you've been probably living under a rock. But just to give you a bit of the background, tonight's guests are Aseer, the Duke of Tears, and his lovely wife, Celina Córdoba, Empress of 10,000 years. Aseer is a multimedia artist, natural historian, published author, writer with a PhD in jurisprudence. He's an astrologer. He was born Prince Charles E.L. Rogers Eel. Aseer started doing art at the age of 4. He began taking art classes at the Brooklyn Museum at age 7, and around the age of 10, he began print modeling, and that same year drew his first full comic book. Let me skip a little bit around that. As a subsidiary of his father's publicity company called Rogers Media, he went to work for himself, starting a company called Morally Correct Mediums. He worked on logos and bios for many groups like Eric B. and Rakim, Dougie Fresh, Dead Press, and a myriad of other musicians. Aseer worked as a contributor writer for The Source magazine, where he wrote articles under the name Destiny. Now, after 5 years of traveling around the world, exhibiting his art in galleries, he pursued a PhD in jurisprudence from an online correspondence university in London. Upon returning, Aseer and his wife Celina married and drove across the entire country on their honeymoon. And after returning to Brooklyn, he went to work as an after-school teacher for New York State Board of Ed and the MAP program and Catholic Charities. Aseer taught Moorish science and history at community centers at various colleges, such as LIU and Prince George County Community College. He's a regular speaker at high schools in New York and Miami. Aseer became a member of the MST of A and was appointed chief. He began an intense study of history and had a major breakthrough around 1999. In 2003, he was anointed the Duke of Tears by Ashanti, an Ashanti Princess Empress, and Kwikwe King. I probably messed that up. Didn't get to say what I wanted to say about Celina, Empress Celina, but I'm going to bring you guys on because we are all waiting to hear from you. How are you doing?
Hey sis, how you doing?
I'm good. I know we were having a little bit of a problem there for a minute. Wasn't sure whether we were going to get on time, and we're a little bit delayed, but here you are. Here I am. So I grabbed the bio that I had from the first time you ever came on, and I started trying to put some stuff. I wasn't even going to read it because I know, dropped my phone. I know that really for the most of those who might be listening or maybe listening or who will see this, you need no introduction. Your work precedes you and goes far and wide. And I am very, very extremely pleased that I have access to you and that that I could give you a call and have you back on the show. It's been several months. It's been a minute, and there are a lot of things that are going on. And we've talked offline, and we're trying to figure out what we can say. Let me see. Yeah. So we called this, a candid conversation because I want to be able to allow the full release and spectrum of your intellect, unleash it tonight, and to kind of give us, your perspective on what's going on. Like I said, in the words of the late great Marvin Gaye, if ever we were in a time of what's going on in my lifetime, this seems to be one of the most, how can I describe this? It is such, it's like a roller coaster ride. It seems like
almost like it's unreal, it's surrealistic.
Right. It's surreal. And it's, we anybody who is familiar with movies like The Truman Show and some other things that we've seen, we saw that years ago, and now my question is, really, since they put everything in the movies, since they tell us everything, ahead of time or while they're in the midst of it, what they're doing, if we're really, are we in the movie or are we watching the movie?
Right. It's art imitating life or life imitating art.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of the stuff is not even artistic. It's more autistic. You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
And people tend to use that as a means to act as if just because people are breathing life into substances or things that aren't real, that those things are real.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not. We're at a point of, we're getting close in quantum physics and stuff. There's a concept called entropy. And we're getting to a point where there's a concept called entropy and there's another concept called heat death. And basically,
how is that spelled? ENTROPY?
Yes.
Okay.
Entropy, and then there's another concept called heat death, in which the universe itself is either spirals down to a point where it literally peeds out, right, in which nothing exists. And then there's another concept by which, as those things scale down, things that never had any substance or any type of atomic weight now have some sort of illicit or supposed substance based upon the overall decline of the reality itself. So, like in the concept of neutron stars, like if a neutron star was to implode, at the center of that is a black hole, but within that black hole is what they call a singularity. And within that singularity is things that have the potential to exist, have existed, may exist, may not exist, all potentially at once. Okay? And so within that, anytime things start to scale in such a way as we are close to entropy point, then that means that things that may not have had substance in the physical reality may begin to appear to have substance. Case in point, it never used to be in the so-called Black community whether or not men and women should be married. Not I can speak. My bad. They, you know what I'm saying? Like that was never a thing. It was never a thing. Just like there was a point in the Black community, in the so-called Black community, where things like things that like having your mother and your father in the house, that was a normal thing. You see what I'm saying? Then one day that ceased to be the norm. And then the opposite of that, that which did not exist up until that point, became the norm, such as all Black men ain't there for their children. You know what I'm saying? And then all of these things that had no substance now started to become that. Like another instance, nobody that is not sick can make somebody sick. So if you have no symptoms of anything, you've been tested for whatever, that means you don't have whatever it is they're looking for. But they have now created a new reality by which people who show no symptoms of sickness or anything are the reason why people who are sick are sick. That's not real. That again is what I'm talking about. Things that were not real on a subatomic level, given some sort of fake substantialness, so that way people can mark this reality that's basically peeling itself out. You understand? So we know that we're in different realities simultaneously because different people on the planet have different calendars that denote what time that they're in. You understand what I'm saying? That means we're all existing simultaneously, but how that existence is quantified is relative to the individuum, the geographic location, the understanding of time. You understand what I'm saying? So in absence of reason, in absence of free thought now is seen as divisive.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Again, something that is a norm, that has substance, that is now turned in on itself. You see, to where now 10, 15 years ago, they was bringing people to court, companies to court, because they wasn't putting the ingredients of what was in their products on the product itself, and people was dying. Now they have a 15-page report of something that they say will help you, but it's really everything says it can poison you and kill you. 13 pages worth, and that is deemed as clinically safe. See what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
Everything is reversed now because they are using quantum polarity against us all. And because we have taken their clock, their time frame, their laws, their reality, their perception of us, their food, their water, their this, their that, we are at the beck and call of someone who has only been bathing for 150 years, and they don't even do that now. So you mean to tell me people who do not bathe, do not wash, do not this, these are the people that own all the soap companies, all of the detergent companies, all the perfume companies? That's what you're telling me? You're telling me that people who don't bathe, don't wash, don't do nothing, these are the people creating soap and everything for everybody. See what I'm saying?
Mm.
I mean about things being perceived as real, but they have no substance. I don't care I don't care how much soap you manufacture. If your people are not using it, you understand? Then you're dirty. You understand? You're dirty. But now we're debating on the level of dirt that a person can have. Oh, it's okay. You can bathe maybe once a week and that's okay. Like, that's not how we was raised. I wasn't raised like that. I was raised you bathe every day. You understand? Like, period. Because I come from a culture of people who brought people who were not even considered human into the human family by using soap as the yardstick of civilization. You understand?
Right. I mean, I remember we used to say that there was an old saying, cleanliness is next to godliness. I used to
Right.
be. They used to
Because
say
nobody
that.
want a dirty God. Who want their God to be dirty? When you ever go to a church or a mosque or a Sikh temple or anything and see mad dirt on the idols, you don't see that. You know what I'm saying? When you ever been to a church, it's just mad dirty. Like even the storefront churches, they at least know they got to keep the upkeep right because presentation is everything. So you could give me a beautiful 10-star meal, but if you give it to me on a garbage can lid, I'm not going to eat it.
Sure.
See what I'm saying? But now what they have done is that they've convinced people that their garbage can lids are actual dinner plates. And now people are preparing their food symbolically, see what I'm saying, allegorically, on dirty fineware. And then they're wondering why they get sick. Because in essence, nobody believes anything anymore. And in a context like that, the people who really have no belief can become God because they now can manipulate everything to the point to make you doubt the very essence of what made you yourself. Because they have enough people co-signing, they got enough people on Twitter, they got enough people on Instagram to say that this thing is what it is. But it's not, because everybody on Instagram, Twitter, all that, these niggas is paid. They paid to say that. They paid to endorse this. That's why they came up with the term influencer. An influencer is somebody that is trying to influence you to do something. But that influence doesn't necessarily say it's wrong or right, does it? They don't say that they're positive influencers, do they? No, they just say they're influencers. So a lot of influencers right now is going to jail for rape. You know what I'm saying? Or fraud, or whatever. You dig what I'm saying? And it goes to show you what I'm saying is the truth. These people who have made themselves the welcome mat for outside agendas to be given to their own people have now become a part of the so-called oppressive class. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
So unless you can show me one of these guys who's a billionaire that done actually use those billions to feed and put people that look like us in better positions, then it's all fake. I'm sorry. I don't know what happened. Hold up.
We'll give it a minute. I'm not sure what, we're gonna have a little bit of technical difficulty, but he will be back, y'all. In the meantime, why don't you click that like and share? Let somebody know that we're on. Let's get up to 1,000 tonight. Here he comes. So let's get the numbers up. We're gonna talk about some stuff. Some others are gonna need to hear.
See, right?
Welcome back.
See, right? So that's what I'm saying. Like that's really where we're at, and they have successfully broken the so-called melanated community to such a degree that we're all now, you have so-called original people advocating CDC bylines when it was the CDC that poisoned their grandmothers and their grandfathers for successive 5 to 6 generations consistently. And so-called original people, i.e. black women, were the nurses that were there to keep track over the decades of how these men deteriorated. You understand? So all you got to do is get books like Medical Apartheid, The Truth on Vaccinations, Bad Blood, any of these books that came out in the past 80 years, and they all telling you the same thing. There's no way that the people who are making the poisons are the people that are going to create the cure for you. It's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. So anybody advocating on anything that has not been vetted by people that look like us, and I'm not talking about the people on the mainstream internet. We can't rely on any of them people. If they're celebrity, you cannot rely on them as the metronome for truth or what you should do for your own individual self. Man becomes the fool for the divinity he worships. So they know that idol worship was bred into Negroes. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
And that the false pretense of white so-called visage and white physiology was put as almost a carrot dangling in front of the donkey for everybody to want to be like. To the point we're in 2020, what they say is 2021, and you still have original women, for instance, like taking their original hair off so they could wear blonde weaves. You got original men out here who have never conformed to how this reality is, out here perming their hair, out here wearing dresses. You understand what I'm saying? All because that is more accepted. It's more accepted to wear a dress. It's more accepted to be a woman with another woman than it is to be in a heterosexual relationship. You see what I'm saying? It's more important for you to have a business than it's important for you to have a family. You understand? So these types of things have now reached a fever pitch within our community. And it has slowly driven people that look like us insane. So you have a lot of people that look like us that are literally walking around here in a constant state of psychosis because they didn't have things the way we had it growing up. Like I had what I realized later was the conscious community growing up. I just didn't know that that's what it was until a certain point. Mm-hmm. So unlike a lot of people who didn't have access to black bookstores, black speakers, black intellectuals, that type of stuff. And again, I know the term black mean all that other stuff, right. But again, 85%, 95% of the population has not declared their nationality. So I don't need to get into all that because people like to nitpick the shit you say. Anyway, they've created this false narrative now where these people can now put themselves before you and say this, this, and that, and then it has to be accepted because of how many people are co-signing. You did? But there's a verse in the Quran that says, one learned man is worth more than 1,000 worshippers. Right? They say another word is, another joint is remembrance of Allah is worth more than prayer. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Remembrance of Allah is worth more than prayer. So those of us and people that's out here just doing things to put themselves before people to self-aggrandize or create some sort of mythic relationship between them and the people around them. These are the people that are preyed upon or are used by this fictitious system to engender us into whatever lane they want us to be in. You understand what I'm saying? So, okay, there's not enough black people getting what we want them to get. So you know what? They like rap music. So let's get this washed up rapper to come out with a song called That's That Thing Up. You know what I'm saying? Like this how stupid they think our people are. That we're so susceptible to what people perceive as groupthink, that anything can trigger us to do what they want us to do. You see? So the fact that these people have created such an issue, this is what I'm saying when it comes down to why we're so at odds with one another. Because we're not thinking for ourselves. We're thinking about every other community, every other person in the world except us. And because of that, we lose it. You know what I'm saying? Like, we literally lose it. And so now they can get black people. Just because people are melanated don't mean that they don't hate themselves or hate their own people. And you have a lot of people who hate their own people that are put in positions now to act as if they are leaders and speakers to their own people. You know what I'm saying? And now we watching them, and all they doing is following what the man wants them to do. So again, who's really doing cognitive reason? Who's really using comprehension as a means of understanding? Who is applying reason and logic with, along with the spiritual intuitiveness that we as original people are blessed with to discern truth from falsehood? It don't exist because they got rid of all of that.
Well, it seems to me that it's become, I don't want to call it illegal, unlawful, so-called. It's an issue. Truth is an issue now. Truth is very much under attack. Before, people were able to freely speak their minds with regard to things that were were in opposition with the so-called powers that be, but yet they still were allowed to voice those things, and they were just kind of brushed away as, oh, okay, that's that, those people with the, they're all caught up in mythology, or they have this or that, but they allowed the truth to be spoken. Now they have found it necessary to denounce the truth, not only to denounce the truth, but to make it almost, to the point where you can't even speak anything that's true. And when you get shut down about something that you've spoken, you've struck a nerve, you've struck a chord with them that is not acceptable. And the only thing I can see, and maybe I don't know whether you agree with this, is the difference between then and now is the awakening energy that we are living in, that more people, if they hear the truth, now it's not just going in one ear and out the other, but some of it's sticking, and they're going, wait a minute, and they're considering, and there's some energy, like we said, we talk about the Aquarian light, that is causing folks to really cogitate on stuff, instead of just thinking that, oh, that's just a myth, or that's not true, or those are those crazy people over there. How do you feel about that?
I think it's the same thing that I've been saying, you know what I mean, from watching it take place. Like, I've been on Earth the same way people have, you know what I'm saying? And as long as I've been on Earth, as much as things has changed, they've stayed the same. You know what I mean? I've lived under Carter. Who's that? Carter, Reagan, Bush, Clinton. Who's that? Clinton, Bush, Obama, Trump, now Biden. That's what? That's like 8 people. And ain't nothing really changed. Like, keep it real. Like, nothing has really changed. Now, there were drastic upheavals, like during the Reagan era. That's when they shut down all of the production value in the United States. So this is what lost everybody started losing their jobs because they started outsourcing everything to China. I mean, that's when all of this started. You know what I'm saying? But when it comes down to it, people from a reptilian perspective do not change because reptiles don't change. You understand? So they just adapt to the, actually they don't. If the climate change, they all gonna die. You have ones like chameleons, for instance, who will switch their appearance. But again, because most reptiles are cold-blooded, you dig what I mean? They don't have the ability to evolve into whatever it is. So when you see an alligator, that's it. It's not going to evolve into anything else. It's always going to be that. You dig what I mean? So within the context of reptilian nature, most people functioning from the reptilian section of the brain. Okay? I'm not getting into the shape-shifting and all that other crap. I'm just talking about the basic stuff that we can verify. There is a reptilian section of the brain that's responsible for the fight and flight. That reptilian brain is the highest source of brain for people that exist in that level. So whereas the whole rest of the brain exists, the part that they are trying to amplify the most is the reptilian section, because that is the one that deals with fear the most. You understand? So anybody that is being engendered through this reality to fear something within the reality is then that being is being targeted. The reptilian section of that person being's brain is being targeted as such by other people with reptilian agenda. Okay? Again, I'm not talking about the alien shit and all of that. I'm talking about the avarice nature of human beings that are functioning from a base chakra level, right? Who believe themselves to be functioning from a higher chakra. Okay?
Also get fed by society and by people that are intelligent and that gain the trust of the people to feel as though they're greater than they actually are. So we're actually dealing with fame, popularity, and fame demons, people that are really addicted to being seen and that want to be famous. A lot of our elders, a lot of our leaders, a lot of people that us as younger folk, I would say, invested and just believed and said, wow, this person has a great family. They look like they're doing something for the community. That those people specifically were engendered and put in our communities to steal, to manipulate, to create groups, group takes to make others feel as though if we're not a part of this, then we're not conscious, we're not moving forward. These people, I call them now conscious trappers, were people that really, really didn't care about the hearts of the people, our evolutionary growth. They just wanted to be paid, they wanted to be famous, and they wanted to be seen. We as younger folk got a little caught up in that, I think, in terms of believing and in trusting. And thank God, I would say the last year or so, a lot of those veils are being lifted for other people. It's great that hopefully we're catching up to a time where people can start to say, wow, I really invested my energy in this person. And why did I do that? Why did I think that they could save my mortgage in my house? Why did I think that they could? And again, not now, but a lot of these people that really gave certain thieves, rapists, manipulators, liars, cheats, platforms were people in our community, conscious community, that we all saw as leaders or that we all gave permission slips to lead. But these people aren't in good relations with their children. They believe in government propaganda. They will sit next to someone without doing the due diligence, without reading their auric field, without doing any type of research or knowledge. They are almost happy when there's a distraction that takes place to take the group away from thinking, wow, this person might have something of intelligence. There's a difference between memorizing and actually learning something. So, for example, just in terms of just anything in life, we already know that there's the people that do really well on exams because during elementary school and junior high school, we learned to memorize the information that was asked of us. But memorizing and actually making it a part of our lifestyle, two different things. So not to interrupt, I know you guys are enjoying yourself with this year, and I didn't want a thing, but yeah, where's the role of the women? We always are looking to these men, looking towards men, looking at men, investing in men, but these women, there's certain women in our communities that gave these rapists, they gave these molesters, they gave these liars, they gave these manipulators, they gave these divisive energies permission, approval, props, a great platform. In them liking us, in them saying, oh, this person might be intelligent and cool. Now the rest of the people that might not know the backstory about things are like, wow, this goddess, this queen, she co-signed him. He must be of something. He must be of relevance.
That's what I mean about substance. People equating based upon what that substance is next to. Instead of looking at the individual for what they are producing, what they are saying, they like to put the individual in context of who's around that individual.
So really, the conscious community is just a whole bunch of people. It became a whole bunch of people that just wanted to be famous, wanted to be rappers, wanted to be actors, and wanted to be seen. Now it's okay to get appreciation, but when you're using the innocence, the humanitarianism of a group of people to try to get money, be famous, be seen, there's a separation of those that actually do read and those that memorize and those that just want to be seen for their IQ levels that actually don't exist. I'm just grateful that the veil is being lifted and people are starting to ask questions and go, you know what? We did invest all of our energy in this. While there was real things going on, we like the distractions. We like the confusion. We like the debates. That's being honest. That's being real. We can't move forward as a people until we identify who are actors amongst us, who are liars, who are rapists and cheats, who will tell a story just to try to look like, hey, I'm cool with this rapper. I'm cool. I sat back and watched the last decade of so many conscious people really investing in stuff that was based in stupidity and lies.
Right.
So it's good time now.
To add on to that, what I also we need to understand is that our people were specifically targeted to have huge aspects of their history removed. Okay? So when you do that, like right now, if I was to say, you know what? I'm going to take away all of your memory of everything and everything that you have ever done up until an hour ago. So imagine everything that you have been up until an hour ago is gone. And now you only have the information of who you are starting from that hour on. How do you think you would function? You wouldn't be able to function. It would take you years to get back that element of what you lost based upon you being denied an aspect of your history that allows yourself to have a complete view of you. So in absence of that, now imagine somebody comes an hour after that hour and say, look, I know you forgot who you was, but this is who you really are. And you was really here. And this is what we really did. And you need to come with me to do this, this, and that. There's a part of you that has to now depend on the kindness of strangers to help put you in a position to help uplift yourself. But when we were being raised, what did our mothers tell us about strangers? You don't talk to strangers.
Right.
give strangers your information. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So now apply that same reality, that whole rationale I just gave you, to our time here in the so-called United States. Let's not even go back all the way, because this is where everybody gets caught up. Let's take it from the year 1900 to now. Actually, it would be the year 900, because 1,000 years was added, which I've talked to at length to you and many other people about it over the years. So really, the year 1900 was really the year 900. You know what I'm saying? There's documentation, meaning that they have buildings and stuff that actually have the right numbers on it. That if you look at this building prior to World War I or World War II, and then you look at it after, you see they actually added numbers to it. This is why they do everything in Roman numerals, because they know niggas don't read, and they know niggas don't. They stop teaching that type of stuff in school. So because we're in basically an artificial timeline that was created specifically by a certain group of people who today we would call the good society of Jesus, the open, friendly, secret society of the Vatican, or whatever else you want to call it, and all of its subsidiaries. Okay, they have created a system by which they can perpetually rule over everyone based upon them knowing who everybody is and everybody else being at odds with who they are. So this perpetual amnesia, or this perpetual L that we keep taking, is happening because we are always put in situations around people that don't have our best interests in mind. But because they look like us, you see, and they use certain words, we automatically associate it as such. You see? And remember, they told you what they was going to do. They told you that from this point on, any black leader that comes to free the people, we're going to create. You understand? So you will never have, first of all, black people are the only people that are told that they have to have a leader. That's number one. Number two, black people, so-called black people, are the only people who leaders come out of the rap studio, the jailhouse, the you know what I'm saying, the criminal empire, and all of that type of shit. The entertainment industry. You understand? Other people's leaders don't come from those places. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
Like one of the biggest young politicians in Africa was a brother named Bobby Wine. Big up to Bobby Wine. And they was hating on him because he was a rapper out of Africa or whatever. But he was rapping about the political corruption that the Africans was doing to the people in the situation. So they were trying to come out and try to make laws to stop him from coming up in it. Just like Shine right now was about to basically become a major politician in Mesopotamia, Bolivia. Right? And so now the black people down there is trying to flip the law to stop him from being able to do it. Now, you got to look at it from both sides. On one side, it seemed like y'all just hating on this nigga because he came from America. He caught that little charge or whatever. But he did his time. No, that's he did his time and all of that.
No worries.
He did his time. He cool. Everything was straight. And they kicked him out the country. And then he wound up going back home. And instead of going there and trying to start a rap career, whatever, he want to make things better. So now the people know that potentially just based on the fact that he's that swift, you know what I'm saying, or he been through whatever he been through here, just word of mouth alone, he could probably win and then start to change shit. Right? So they may not be with that because they don't want no Yankee boy that, even though his people from there, they don't want him coming there and flip. Now the other side could be, well, maybe this dude is an implant. You know what I'm saying? Maybe they using him to do what they need to do to finish their operation in South America, because we know the operation in South America still is in effect. Operation Gladio, Operation Mongoose, all that stuff is still popping down there. So maybe that's what they doing too. Maybe it's like, well, maybe this dude might actually be an implant and he might be trying to get into the government just so that way he can sign it off to these Europeans or whoever else is coming in. You see? Mm-hmm. So I'm using that to also display that there's a severe lack of trust when it comes to us and one another, and rightfully so. Yeah. Because each one of us have been duped and have been put in situations by people who said that they had our best interests in mind. Let's take
Absolutely.
it out of the community. Let's take it out of the mainstream community. In your own family. In your own family. This is where all this shit started. You have how many times you have people in their family come through, and just because they heard some bullshit that some family member said about you, now they all believe in it and trying to treat you like you a certain way. When really it was some shit like, oh well, he just don't believe in Jesus like that, or he just got a better job, or he just this, or he just mad because he done found out his credit messed up because I took his name when he was a baby to run credit up on and shit, and now he trying to do shit. Now he called me up to curse me out about it, and now he wrong. You see what I'm saying? So these are the type of things. It's like, how are we trying to get together as a global community when we don't even have our family shit together? We can't even trust our own some mothers, fathers, brothers, uncles. You can't even trust these things. Because let's keep it real. At some point, we're going to have to get to the situation where we address the fact that all of these trans, all of these gays, all of these people is being made by heterosexual people. Let's keep it real. Like allegedly, all this molestation, this rape, these gay tendencies, lesbian tendencies, all of that seem to be coming from from families of people who say that they're all heterosexual. So obviously that can't be it. We cannot, everybody in the family can't be as heterosexual as they say if they molested people in the family, if they are becoming gay, if they out there doing shit to then molest somebody, so then somebody now goes out there and do the same thing.
Right.
So let's keep it real. So really what we're saying then is that straight and these terms that were given to us, and you think in the Moorish Empire we was making delineations between who was gay and who was straight? Really? That's what we was doing? No, we wasn't doing that. If niggas caught you slipping, you was out of here. People caught you touching a baby, you was out of here. You understand what I'm saying? Yes, people was not into making excuses about whatever and trying to psychologically examine the criminal, why he's a criminal, and why he had to molest these children. Why did he do this? Or what the woman might have done to put him in a position. Like, you know what? No. The fatwa said, if you have sex with this baby, you're dead. We're cutting your head off. That's it. You understand? It was only in European societies, that these things started to come around because the Europeans would allow degenerates around them based upon them having something new to share with them. Because remember, we put these niggas in an icebox for centuries. It was called the Dark Ages. So they didn't have no outside understanding of what was going on over here in other parts of the world. So people, just like now, you had scammers back then that would go to these European communities that these niggas locked up in the dark, and would give them stuff, give them stories and stuff like that or whatever, making them believe stuff that wasn't true, just to get what little pennies or shekels or whatever they had off of them. There's books on this. There's a book you can get called Rebels, Imposters, and Rebels, Imposters, and Fake Kings or something like that. And it's a whole book about how people been scamming different people using the thing that they want to put them in position of power over other people. You understand? Some of these niggas are so dirty that if they was to have power, right? Some of these people these people watching the community, or not just conscious community, let's not just focus on them. It's all things. Some of these rappers, some of these people worship. If these niggas actually had power, they would be worse than the white. They would be worse than the Chinese. They would be worse. They'd be the first one to throw you in slavery. The first one to want to have sex with your wife. The first one to be able to enslave your children. Because that's how they were raised. So man, most people don't look beyond their own choices. If they made a choice to be grimy, guess what? That's what they are. But they don't believe themselves to be grimy. They justify their griminess based on what happened to them. See what I'm saying?
let me get your perspective on this. What is it in our people or any people? Let's just put in any people, but I'm thinking more of melanated people. What is it in us that would allow us to be so easily swayed away from the loyalty of the our kinfolk, our culture, and to into these betrayal situations? What is it? Or is it the fact, like you said, you talked about the carrot dangling, on a stick? And funny thing, I would always talk about, let me give my little sidebar about the carrot. When I was preaching and so forth, I used to talk about this, but I see it even more so now. When you put that carrot in front of, say, the donkey or the horse or the mule or whatever, on the hat, on the stick in front of them, and they're trying to get this carrot that they're never going to get. But when you attach them to a plow, you're going to get your field plow. They're never going to get the carrot, but you're going to get your field plow. So we have we have so many of us that are willing to go after the carrot on the stick while plowing the field of the whoever, the colonizers, and betraying our people. But what is it? What is it that happened to us that causes us to betray our own culture, our own people, our own kinfolk?
I said laziness. Very simple, laziness.
That's it. It's laziness. That's it.
But if you hear, I hear you say laziness, but when some of these folks work hard to
lazy, or staying busy and accomplishing
they're busy doing a lot of ish so that they can keep up the the facade and make the folks think that they're working on their behalf, that by vote for me and I'll set you free. I'm going to put a chicken in every pot and whatever in every there, those kinds of, that goes back, all of these things. But nobody, I don't think we hold these people accountable once they get in these positions, these be their offices or positions of trust, whether they're entertainers or whether they're politicians or whatever they are. If they're put up as our example, then what is it about us that, since it's more of us than it is them, that won't make them accountable for their issue? I mean, I hear you saying some stuff because we got a current situation, in our community, that has come to light in the last week or so. That happened earlier in the year, and the debate is raging on
almost a decade.
Right, but
so it's been. No, I know it's not new, but eventually, sometimes it'd be the straw that breaks the camel's back, and then all of a sudden, karma catches up with you. I got a shirt that says karma. I got a couple people you missed, right? So you know what I mean. So I should have put it on. But what I'm saying is, we don't hold them accountable. We always want to because I'm hearing this debate about this latest thing, and there's two sides of it, and the moral side of it is there's a moral side to it, and I think that's the truth. That's the part where, if we want to argue anything, it should be morality of a situation, and we seem to be debating. We're arguing dumb stuff.
The levels of molestation. That's where we at. We're debating the levels of molestation. But again, what I say, when you have a people and you've taken everything from them people, or everything about these people they think they know about themselves is actually the opposite, then those people will always be dependent upon your understanding to give to them. Remember, we are all relying on the kindness of strangers to move forward. You understand? Collectively. So just because this person may share the similar ideology as you, just because this person may worship the same divinity as you, that person will never be you, and you will never be that person. However, Black folk was trained by these same agents to practice communism. You understand? Which is another form of what's called communism, which is a form, again, of Marxism, which is a ism that was created by people that do not look like us. And in that environment that was given to us by people that look like us through organizations created to move us up, whether it be the Panthers, whether it be the whatever. These guys were trained to be anti-American, right? But we are the original Americans. That's what everybody's forgetting. How is it that we were turned against our own country? You see what I'm saying? By people that's not even from here, who then created a religious statutory system to get us to perpetually vote for things that would go against our basic nature as human beings. This has been going on since. So this does not detract those people who may have died for what they believe was right during, let's say, the Panther era, using this as an example, not focusing on them, but again, an example of communism in the hood, okay, was them. And they had great programs and great this, but the ones that was doing the work, they had to get them up out of here quick. That was Bunchy Carter. That was Fred Hampton. That was little Bobby. You know what I'm saying? Also Steven. A couple of the other ones. They was out of here. The ones that got the most press, Eldridge Cleaver. See what I'm saying? Geronimo Pratt. What's his name? Huey P. Newton. And this one and that one. You see what I'm saying? But look at what happened with all of those guys. Bobby Seale wound up allegedly flipping out and then created the Bahamian diet. Now he get niggas to lose weight. Eldridge Cleaver wound up writing Soul on Ice, and then after that, what happened? He wound up going underground, resurfacing back, married a white woman, became the became the campaign manager for Ronald Reagan. Okay?
Like this one.
Angela Davis.
Cornell West.
Look at this nigga. This nigga with a straight arrow. You know what I'm saying? Straight arrow. Now again, you love who you want. Your heart do what you want to do.
It's interesting that people would invest so much in certain people thinking that they would be about their own kind, and they're not.
Put it like this. You think people would be paying attention to me the way that they do if I was sitting right here with a Caucasian woman? Really?
Probably more.
The fake ones.
And that's 85.
Right, and that's the 85.
So
that means boom.
Because that's actually what they're selling.
Right.
They're selling mixed race, mixed couples. Right. Look at anybody on YouTube that is married to an opposite. Right. Their channel is huge because that's what they want to sell. Right. That we can make it happen with everybody
else.
And yes, we can. But that doesn't mean that we need to.
Right. So that's what I'm trying to say. Integrity has not. When the last time you heard black women use words like honor, integrity, chastity, virtue,
and the world is
chasteness, demure. When have you ever heard black women talk loyalty? When was the last time you heard black women, any black woman, use those words in a comparative sentence in everyday speak?
It's unheard of. It's unheard of.
You see that look on your face? That's a problem.
It is.
That's a problem. But I'm gonna ask you another question. When the last time you heard a black woman talk about how great her WAP is, how big her wallet is, how she don't need no man, why she need to wear this weave, why she gotta go get her nails done? When the last time you heard that?
You hear it all
probably just today. Just today you probably heard shit like that.
I heard myself say I gotta get my nails done.
Okay, you see what I'm saying?
Wrong.
You see what I'm saying?
Think about how much energy we invest in things that are not real or that we can't maintain.
I bring that up to say that these things are no longer important to us. When I was growing up, these were the things that was taught to me. You understand? My father told me shit like, if you a man, you got to keep your word. You know what I mean? My father used to, and he wasn't even in the crib like that. But when I did get to see him, I made sure I don't know when I might see him again. So let me, you dig what I'm saying? Wrap up and get whatever I can get out the situation. You know what I mean? Because again, I'm a young kid. I don't know what's really going on, the politics between her, my mother, him, my mother, the grandmother, and all of this stuff. You don't find that out really until you as a man become a father. That's when you really see what your father was dealing with. And then by that point, there's really nobody else you could talk to about it. You dig what I'm saying? Because either one, they're not experiencing it. Two, they gotta keep their thing on quiet because they don't want to get smashed like you getting smashed. You see what I'm saying? So very early on, as a man, I started to realize, as a man, I'm on my own. As a man, nobody cares what men think.
Or feel.
As a man, nobody cares what a man feel. As a man, no matter what happened, as a man, if I'm in a situation where I'm in a sexual relationship, let's say I'm 16 and then a female is in her 30s, and for whatever reason, I'm in a position to wind up having sex with this girl.
That's great.
I've been raped.
She raped you. Yeah.
I've been raped.
But I know at least 95% of men, that's how they lost their virginity.
But I know men who talk about like, but I know of men who talk about that like, yeah, it was something.
Well,
yeah,
men are taught that like that's not rape. You understand what I'm saying? We're taught that that's not rape. We're taught, oh nigga, you coming up. Oh nigga, word, you got that. That's what you need to do. You need to do that again. Find another shorty. Doing this and that. This is why a lot of men go crazy because we were raped. We were molested by women in our families. You understand? Not just men.
I did a program on that.
There's an equal diddling factor between the men and the women in these black families. Let's not put one above the other.
Which is why.
Because if the man was diddling the kid and the mother knew, she's just as guilty. Absolutely. If the mother was diddling the kid and the father knew, he's just as guilty. Absolutely. Like I said, niggas right now in the community, you're watching it. You're watching the sickness. You're watching the psychosis happen in real time. You watching people regale what level of rape is rape, what level of molestation is molestation. All because a nigga read a lot of books, or because people don't want to admit that they themselves was duped by a nigga. You understand?
Looking for a distraction. Because remember, when you hear something truthful and real, your body is programmed to do the opposite. It's to run. So I even said this to Aseer years ago, like when he first started doing lectures, it opened such a portal right away that society, people, everybody around us, I watched them look for a distraction to not really listen to what he was talking about. Because it can't be just this one guy. So let's look for a duo. So when you think about what was created, probably out of a tank, probably out of just prison, just putting somebody in front of something. Because we watch these movies like Manchurian Candidate, but then we don't think that that's actually something that can take place. Or we watch these films about extreme mind swaps, and we don't think that it's something that's going on right in front of us, and it is. Like, it really is something to behold when we start thinking about the role of these women and how much they invite certain energy into these families and into our own families. And I think a lot of it comes from fear of doing it alone, fear of being by themselves, fear of not having a group that they can relate to. If you see something, as soon as I saw somebody try to put their tongue in my son's mouth, okay, I'll never see you for the next decade. It's not a question. It's not something that I need to ask or say, well, maybe he was just having a weird day. And I asked, how did you do it? Oh, he's so pure. Okay, he's so pure that your adult tongue want to go in his mouth. Time for me to take my kid. And that was when Amor was like a month. And I, 3 months. It had to be 3 months because I didn't bring him outside. So about 3-6 months, I took him to a little event. And
a lecture that
the
we
brother
was doing.
who was a conscious brother, I turned around trying to put his tongue. And this is what I'm saying. There's people that have so much perverse demons.
Why you think you'll never see us on TV with none of these other niggas?
It's been over a decade, and we were really.
He
was really like, oh, she's trying to control your career.
They try to do everything.
How many years people try? Oh, you try to control this here because you don't let them speak. How about it's just something now? I can look back with him and go, you know how great it is to not have one.
To not be on tape with none of these niggas.
With none of these people, because they did. everybody, my
I
whole
said-
channel gonna be filled with this man because I'm making money. So really, you don't care about the energy he's putting out. You care about your channel growing, and you care about it growing to such an exponential rate that you don't care if you're inviting people that are just robbing
I
each
saw
other
it from
blind.
the very first time. I did 2 interviews in a major platform that everybody does. And by the first tape, I was done. I was like, nah, we ain't fucking with this no more.
Come back?
We ain't coming back no more. But the next time, homie hit me, nah, it's not going, you know what I mean? It's not going to be like that, blah, 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 blah. I said, okay, I'll do one more thing. What's the time? Okay, we're going to talk about Hannibal. That's it. And that was it, literally, for me with that. Because after that is when I started seeing, like, everything, how everything was now changing. Where they were trying to create a new guard to replace all the old guys, right? But all the old guys, you know what I'm saying? Just because they were conscious of stuff didn't mean that they all got along, was all cooler like that either. You dig what I'm saying? People are people regardless. And what this has done, what people should see it for what it is that just because a person now has gotten their life together with this doesn't mean they still not battling with their egos. You dig? And so when we started to see this, I said, well, if I'm going to do anything with this continuously, I'm going to have to do it all myself with her. You know what I'm saying? When I say myself, I'm talking about me and her.
Have me help
I can't,
whatever, because
I can't trust these dudes. One day we did a video. Just show you how ill and ferocious these guys are for content. Because you can see a lot of people on YouTube, but not a lot of people from before YouTube, going back in the thing, had content.
Right.
Content is different than information. Content is something that is substantive that you can actually take out in real life and apply and see something positive come from it. Information is just something that you pay attention to hopefully build up your wisdom.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Absolutely.
So therefore, knowledge is different than wisdom, and both of those are different than understanding. Okay? Something happened within the overall so-called community when niggas' egos started getting big, where they stopped even using terms like understanding, and they start using terms like overstanding. I overstand. Okay, but you gotta be under to get over.
Absolutely.
You dig what I'm saying? Because we're all born crawling first. Nobody's born walking. So this is what I mean when it comes to how the in order to really get where we need to go, there has to be some sort of death of the ego. And this was never done. But this is what niggas was talking about in the early aspects of the community. I'm talking about back when it was in people's houses. People don't realize this. The conscious community literally started in people's houses. I remember doing lectures where it would be 2 people there. Then I went to 4 people. Then I would go to a lecture one time or whatever, and then it would be 1,000 people. It'd be 500 people. Like, this is what it is. You never know.
Right.
So what I knew was, regardless to what, whether it's 2 people, 2,000 people, 200,000 people, I'm going to always bring my deed. I'm going to always stay in my lane to do what I need to do, because this was the thing that Allah put in my heart to do. So I'm not going to try to go in somebody else's lane and be a jack of all trades and a master of none. I'm going to stay on my course. And when I seen these niggas started to do all this other stuff that had nothing to do with what the old guard was even bringing, because this is not to put none of them on no pedestal, but it is to say that if it wasn't for these elders and people that brought this type of information, imagine where any of us would be. We wouldn't know half the shit we know. You understand? If it wasn't for the conscious community, I wouldn't have known about Marcus Garvey. I wouldn't have known about Noble Drew Ali. I wouldn't have known about Sakari Muhammad, Mansa Musa, Patrice Lumumba. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wouldn't know about certain things. And like I said, I was in it to such a degree that we didn't even know that that's what it was called. Absolutely. Until one day I'm at a lecture and it's like, yeah, man, the conscious community is where it's at. I'm like, what's that? He said, that's this, nigga. What you think? And I'm looking around like, oh, yeah, it is this. Because at the time, you could have the Nation of Gods and Earths over here. You have the Nuwapians over here. You had the Moors over here. You had Christians over here. You had the Ray Hagen Chemite niggas over here. You had the Valentine people over here. The astrology people here. The Delbert Blair people here. But everybody was together.
Yes.
Everybody was able to listen to each person's pundit.
Yes.
Because every school of thought manifested an individual that could encompass that. See, we collectively, spiritually, mentally manifested that. As a people, we not even understanding that we were at such a low level of understanding after the fall of the 1960s into the mid 70s, and the fact that all these niggas sold out, that something had to come to usher us past all the fake shit. So this is where people like Brother Dawood came from. This is where people like Bobby Hemmett from. This is where people like Valentine and Blair and C. Freeman L. and all of these people that some of the young people listen to. Who the hell is that? You don't even know. Because they got rid of all of that.
And it was before
they got rid of all of this shit. So that way they can make you think that it only started on the internet with the fuck shit.
Yes.
That's what they did.
And then you're not invested in going a little further back because they don't have a following.
Right.
They're not known.
Right.
Why am I wasting my time with them?
But we're going back to when this was on VHS tape. I got lectures on cassette tapes.
Yes.
You understand? Cassette tapes. I got lectures on.
8-hour lectures.
Straight up, B. So niggas can say what they want, but a lot of the crazy stuff didn't start until, like I said, man, I bowed out. That situation and there was a situation where Bambaataa had a lecture. And that's when I knew that something was up. He had this lecture that they buried. You can't find this lecture nowhere. It's called What Were You Before 1492? Anybody that was at that lecture know that Aseer got up and torpedoed the whole shit mid-frame. Like, wait, this kind of seemed crazy. Y'all out here talking this, and that, but this dude got Zulu Nation chapters all over the world.
Why hasn't he said anything?
How have none of these things been set up towards a nationality base and all this other type of stuff? So you can't just bring this Zulu Kemetic Moor shit into this now and try to act like this is going to now replace more science? Nah, we're not doing that. So
and that could have been just to open it up where there's a center for boys.
Exactly, because you know what your man was down with.
They could traffic young men.
So I already knew that. So I'm like, no, you're not bringing that to the Moorish community. You're not going to bring that to the Moorish community.
When people act like they didn't hear about it, because I was like 13, and there was a rumor. I heard about certain people just being grimy when I was a young teen. So how is it that people that are grown don't know that Bambaataa was known for doing
I heard about that from when I was working with my father.
And I don't even want to mention his name because, names sound powerful. But this has been going on in our communities. And people, what I realized is these black folk doesn't love it. Maybe they want somebody around to just cause all this confusion.
I think there's a degree of them that loves the controversy. There's a part of us as black people that not.
Well, not
again,
us, but I'm
not
just saying,
us as black people. Let me get it right. Not us as so-called black people, because we're not black. We
have a nationality.
Right, we have a nationality. But again, we're speaking to the 95% of the so-called original people that don't know that they are Moors of this, or that. Okay? Because I never want to speak more to the position where I'm speaking down to people.
Right, or like they don't know, so.
Or like I was never not conscious at one point. No, we all grew up pagan. We all grew up, they was forcing pork on all of us, okay? Even the Muslims.
And I was eating it at one point.
So let's keep it real.
Loving the perm, loving all of it.
Let's keep it real.
Exactly.
So I'm saying all of that to say, though, that it got to a point where I started to see that, okay, I'm at this Moorish science. Me and the Queen, we actively about Moorish science. So we're about Moorish science. Why is the dude teaching Moorish science teaching us this in a Masonic law? This shit don't seem correct.
Well, with a Masonic fez on.
Yeah, both.
Right.
Both. So I'm like, you know what? Maybe we don't need to rock with this, because from what I'm understanding, these are two separate things. And it seemed like this guy's trying to merge them. And I don't feel right about that. Because everything that I have been reading about it thus far, they've never mentioned these dudes. But prior to that, I knew what Freemasonry was because I got knowledge of self through the Nation of Gods of Earth. So through that, I already knew what a Muslim son was, what they was really dealing with, and all of that. Not to mention the low-key Easter stars and all that shit in my family. You see what I'm saying? Right, we talked about it.
We talked about how a lot of that, you know.
So I'm saying all that to say, when I said, okay, I'm not down with this, and torpedoed that lecture, that's when the same day I'm on a panel with Leonard Jeffries, and he just started going in on the merits of the boule. You know what I'm saying? Start talking about how great the boule was and what they did for TV and what they did for the people and all that. Man, I couldn't wait for him to stop. As soon as he stopped,
you stood up.
I stood up and was like, I don't know what the elder talking about, but look, this is what's really good with these niggas, and just torpedoed it. Now at the time, I'm not doing the knowledge
at the agenda that
at the overall agenda, because they're not. We just coming into it. I'm just getting the name. You know what I mean? I'm just coming up. You know what I'm saying? So I'm kind of peeping game too. And the people that I was around,
I just lost a baby, so I was home, and I remember him being out and being like, "Yo, represented them." Remember?
Yeah,
I just lost it and you went by yourself.
Right.
And I was a little nervous because it was all those people I didn't trust.
We didn't even get into how we lost the baby behind
that's
the shit.
okay.
That's a whole other thing. But long story short, once we did that, torpedoed it, he was in all of this big African gear, right? We've been through a lot, right? He had all of this African gear on, right? So by the time I finished, I turned around, this nigga is in a t-shirt and jeans and sandals. I was like, when did he change? You know what I'm saying? Like, when did he flip like that? So that's when I knew something was up. Then after that night, Taj was the one that came to me in front of the National Black Theater and told me his generation was supposed to leave stuff for our generation, and they did it. This is what he told me.
That's the only conversation.
This is the only real conversation I've ever really had with him. And this is back in like 2007, maybe 2006. This was like right after Barbara Tears died, bless the dead, who established the National Black Theater. And that whole thing, the way she passed, that was kind of strange. But whatever. You know what I'm saying? Because it corresponded right around the time that Bill Clinton came and set up shop at the Adam Clayton Powell building. Right after that, a lot of stuff started switching around that. But anyway, we get back to it. He told me, look, we're supposed to do this. So if there's anything that you're going to have to get, you're going to have to do it yourself. And I said, bet, Elder. He said that to me in front of me. Well, I think my brothers was there. Edwin was there. A couple people was there. And I said, bet. And from that point on, I ain't never looked back. I ain't try to be down with these dudes. I ain't try to be on nobody's couch. I ain't try to do none of that. Because what I started to see was there was a low-key blacklist going on anybody that wasn't a Freemason in that whole cipher.
Wow.
I'm not. There's another brother I know that wasn't. And for whatever reason, I would have a lecture. Then the next day, next thing I know, it'd be like 5 other lectures that day. You know what I'm saying? Or I'll be putting up flyers in a certain way or whatever. I go, the brother I gave it to, who happens to be working with one of these other niggas in Harlem, I look all the flyers in the garbage. See what I'm saying? Like, this is what they was doing, because they was trying to take the personality that is now seen as whatever and hoist them up and say that he, right, is the ultimate. There's nobody iller than this dude.
Oh my God.
And we're all gonna go. Like, I remember these niggas was setting up lectures where you could go and see this dude, and he was gonna teach you how to set fires with your mind. This is the type of stuff that they was really promoting with the situation.
When you're not into making magic and promising people things overnight, it's like, oh, he's gonna be too much work. I'll just go to the guy that's got all the gadgets and the firecrackers, but it leads to nothing. It's more illusionary. The reason why, and even back in the day, I was like, you know what? We've got to do this one-on-one. We're just going to suck because we're not going to be known. We're not going to get, like, because somebody got to help for real. And then it's like, well, the whole thing with that was literally working with people one-on-one is wonderful, but it's not something that other people can prove is being done. So over the last decade, we must have really helped so many people that have been robbed
in the real world,
gotten really, their hopes up
by dealing with these jokers.
Yes, and so to be grateful Everything is connected, because if it wasn't for them messing so many things up, there wouldn't have been anybody that could actually help people. So I'm very grateful for that. But at the same token, you don't want to always deal with people after their luster is gone, after their hope and their faith has dwindled, after they've been robbed, after they've been used and manipulated, because you got to coax and think. And that's where it's like, you know what? We're also not deserving to have to do all of that either.
Cleanup
Because
work.
the cleanup work, we're not pigs. I didn't make this mess. But at the same token, it's like we said, who's going to treat people with a little kindness and some reverence and say, look, we too were at a space where we didn't know everything. So I get why you might have thought this person could have, done all these things. But when anything is promising you overnight results, overnight success, it's not real. But it's also like, damn, I have to do a little work. And that's what's so great as well, because you weed out a lot of people that just want it to be a printing, just print something off a printer.
Here's a funny story.
And carry it with you.
The last lecture I remember doing around this era.
What you doing?
Right before we moved out here to Andalusia.
Watching?
This lecture, these niggas tried to make it so uncomfortable, right? Because what they was doing, the promoter is the same guy that brought your man out to the public. There's a lot of people that was working with this person. A lot of people.
Are we speaking about the current person, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So what I'm saying is, a lot of people was rocking with this dude. And when I found out that people was rocking with this dude, that means I had to step from working with them.
Yes.
So you'll notice, if you look at my catalog, you'll notice like I'll cool with certain people, but then after a while, you see me not around any of them like that. And that's because I found out most of these niggas was on the tape. And most of these guys was out here involving themselves in stuff that they really didn't need to be. Because I realized a lot of these guys, in their heart, were not good people.
No.
Were criminals. You
Absolutely.
understand? Straight criminals. So just because I grew up in an environment that was full of criminality,
doesn't mean
that was full of criminality, didn't make me a criminal.
Absolutely.
You understand? And I was never to the degree that I thought that criminals were heroes. I could see why.
Or like cool.
Well, I'm saying like in this society, what they like to do is make the hero the villain and the villain the hero. So Disney movies will make movies about Cruella de Vil, who is the villain. So that way they give you a backstory to make you sympathetic as you all them Dobermans. You understand? That's called sympathy for the devil. That's a ritual. That's an actual ritual. Matter of fact, Mick Jagger wrote a song about it. That's an actual ritual where they take the evilness and make the evilness think. Just like they do this all the time. So I started to see this is a pattern in the so-called community. Because like I said, we was in this before it was even an internet. So by the time it became an interweb, whatever we call it, a lot of the F stuff, the seeds of that had already been set. So I started seeing a lot of the old guards being swept to the back. And now they bringing these new cats up that's coming out of nowhere. Well, that's not true. Coming from jail. 90%. Most of these niggas that came out within the past 10 years that you really see make big, major splashes in that stuff came from jail. So whether they fresh out of jail and then applying their criminality to this, whether they was approached in jail, turned into some sort of Manchurian candidate, stuck out to the people to destroy the people's belief that they can actually have somebody that looks like them, represent them, and keep their interests in mind, it don't matter.
Without wanting to get paid at the cut or
exactly.
Take a deal at the end.
Exactly.
We just
without apologizing for whatever. Exactly. So we started to see now these young cats coming in, and then one day somebody come to me and say, "Look, man, homeboy wants you to debate this dude, man. He coming out. He really going against the Moors. You the only one that can stop him. He's saying this, and that." Actually, it was kind of the opposite. I was like, "Word." So I was like, "Well, who you talking about?"
Asked for a certain amount, but
yeah,
they raised it.
Well,
they were going to give it to you.
Yeah, to a degree, but it would be if I was going to do that. So the initial price that they put out, I was like, I'm not doing that, especially for no bread like this. Then I said, well, who was this person?
Right. You're right.
Then I said, well, who was this person? Then they came up with this what you're right now. So then they came out with more bread, right? And then when they showed me the person, I looked at one clip of this person. I was like,
no,
I am not going to sit on no TV with no Asian like this going back and forth for this little bit of money that you're trying to show me, just so you can make this nigga look like he better than me in the editing. Because I know how y'all do with the editing.
They're going to do that.
Y'all gonna take everything I smashed it through with and edit it to that favor. Because I already know that they was getting rid of videos, you see what I'm saying, based on what happened to me with them burying that 1492 tape. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So I'm starting to see like there's something bigger in this, and there must be a reason why everybody gotta be in this cipher with this guy, even though
on that couch.
Right. On that couch. Why, if they're so smart, they allowing this person to do that.
Mm-hmm.
When video cameras is in every store in the country, you could just go buy your own video camera,
but you're not going to get.
And then that's what we did. I said, you know what,
you're not going to get the popularity, and that's why I'm grateful for moments like this, because who's to even say that we would have existed for somebody to remember? Hey, let's bring Aseer on the show or whatever, because they really do a number on people that show us a little bit of support, and it have throughout the years as well. And it's not like, oh, you want to think. It really was like, wow, out of everybody, the least intellectual is actually risen to be considered the smartest.
And after a while, it made sense to me though. After a while, when I started to see what they was doing, and they turned it and devalued it
into like a
what
comedy show.
What I'm most of, I don't want to say upset, or what I'm most disturbed by was that the movement itself is real. The need for this type of information with our people is real, right? It's paramount to the point where people would pay money. You know what I'm saying? Sponsor lecture. Big up to brother Eugene Arnold L., who was one of the pillars of the so-called conscious community, specifically in Harlem. This brother Arnold, this is us also Celina Arnold from Martin, it's her pops.
Oh, he just transitioned. Yes.
That's right. Brother Arnold, when we first had him more, and we found out, and actually no, when we lost the first baby, he found out what happened and how it went down with us, how they gave us this messed up water, and they wound up using it right. It was some bullshit. But anyway, he found out about it though, and was like, and it really affected him to the point he was like, well, look, more, I'm gonna pray for you. You know, I'm praying for you and all of that, and I'm gonna keep guard. And you need anything, blah blah blah. But in my opinion, don't tell nobody nothing. So he was one of the only people that knew that Amor was coming when he came. You know what I'm saying? A little before he got here. When Amor got here, now mind you, he knew me from being up there and doing my thing, but he used to see how I used to move with it. You know what I'm saying? So he noticed it, and he brought that to my attention as an elder. And he would always give me words of encouragement. Him, Brother Shabazz, Brother Azazel, Brother Azariah, Brother Terrence. Like, there was a lot of elders up there that peaked that I'm kind of moving different than the rest of these dudes.
And it's making us not want to be around the collective anymore.
Right. So long story short, boom, we have Amor. I go up on a humble to Harlem one day or whatever. I see Arnold like, oh, Amor, congratulations. I heard, you know what I'm saying? I heard blah, blah, blah. He said, wait right here. It's like, I waited like, it seemed like 10 minutes. It might have been longer than that. It was like 10 minutes. I'm talking to Azariah. I turn around. This man brought me 2 garbage bags full of new clothes.
And the garbage bags were needed because he brought that much.
Yo.
He said garbage bags like he was so abundant.
But what I'm saying, it wasn't garbage. It was real new clothes. But they were too full. My own family didn't do that for me. You understand what I'm saying? So when people try to shit on the conscious community and say this and that, like, I feel you, but that's not the people.
There's so many great.
There were way more. Sorry.
Nah, there's just a lot of greatness to be held, and you're not. It's not. They're not public. They're not publicized.
Yes.
There's not a lot of numbers. The same thing in us having this switched up. I would have loved for him to be able to be invited on other, but they had their cookies with this dude. Everybody loved this person who looked like Candyman monster times 10. Sometimes it's like I'm not into looks. I love somebody who's not very attractive but works on being a good person, because a lot of unattractive men find beautiful women because they're smart, they can make you laugh, they got great sense of humor. Not only was I witnessing somebody that didn't have any of that, but it was like the gift of gab alone can create this veil of illusion that this person actually has a personality.
And I watched.
It's like seeing an auric field and knowing what it's reading, knowing what it's emulating, but then going, you know what? Everybody else is seeing it as purple and green, so it must be. And it's not. You got to really listen to your gut. Because when I first saw this individual, and mind you, this individual would follow me around Brooklyn. They would follow me around Bushwick.
That's what I was going to say about the last election.
Turned around. It was even coming out here. I moved to the opposite side of the state.
It's popping up.
And not even a couple. Well, guess who's out here? It's like they're not going to run into me. Because not only have I done a banishment ritual, but I don't want to be around people that are known for robbing, raping, even if they haven't done it yet. I can see that that's what they are about to do.
So
they're lining it up.
I never thought that it was good. I never thought that this person was smart. None of that. And I'm not just talking about him. I'm talking about a lot of them.
No.
I even had issues with some of these people that put on lectures was beefing because I found niggas selling my DVDs. And then when I roll up on you, like, where's my DVD money? Y'all niggas just acting like I'm doing something wrong to you. Well, you stealing from me. Because what you have to understand is that every stitch of video that you've seen me on, that's on my page, she done filmed it. Nobody else filmed nothing. Okay?
And I didn't want to.
And that was because I realized, boom, the last lecture that we did, they tried to make it mad uncomfortable, but it was packed, right? My joint was packed, and it was one of the hottest days in the summer. It's back in 2007. These niggas was so ill. They had the police, you know, the police have them towers, them watchtowers they put in the hood, them mobile watchtowers. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Right. They had that shit parked literally outside the lecture. If I was talking a lecture and look out the window,
the light was shining.
You could see word. They had it like that.
Like this was the beam light.
Right.
Like right in his face.
Right. It was like right on it. Right. So whatever though. So the lecture was called Dark Time Telemetry. Okay. You can get it at Aseer.com. Anyway, on the joint, I'm doing the projector I had broke. So the person that was throwing the event, Brother Simon, he had he didn't have another one. But this guy, the one we talking about, he had one, right? So I said, nah, I don't even need it. I don't know this guy, and I don't want anything to do with this person.
They're there.
But he's here because this nigga invited.
And they're there to set it up.
So I'm peeping this nigga in the back watching me, because I done watched this guy morph himself into whoever he's dealing with. So I'm like, watch, this nigga gonna try to watch me and try to take aspects of my steed, right? So this is in my mind while I'm giving the lecture. Nobody knows this. So boom, so the lecture goes down, use the joint, everybody's there. We make it out, regardless of how uncomfortable niggas try to make it. It was a success, of course, but again, this is my last one that I did in New York.
I'm good.
And with that other promoter and that guy, because I don't know that guy. He just showed up because this guy was promoting him. You understand?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking at it like, okay, so you're bringing him around to see like who's doing what, right? So the next day, so in the lecture, I start talking about
I
start talking about the unification and the symbolic nature of what the Vesica Pisces is, right?
Yeah.
So the next day, we go to pick up. We go to Office Depot down there in on Atlantic Avenue, right? That's where it was. Office Max, Office Depot, whatever.
Right where Party Central.
Right where Party City is right now.
City and right there.
Right in that fake mall, right over there across from Barclays. Anyway, we go up in there, and I'm picking up some orders from books that I had already, written and was getting printed from the store. So then I happen to look, I see homie's wife or one of them.
Then homie
in the back.
In the cop watching.
Right? So I'm peeping her and I'm like, oh wait, that's the shorty that was just there. So now she's there Xeroxing something.
And I say hi.
So
it's just me.
Right.
Hey girl, is that you on the aisle? What's up, girl?
And you turn like, oh, almost like you
like
caught her.
Somebody caught her, yep.
So I was like, word, what's up? Whatever, kept it moving. So I go get my books. So as we leaving, we happen to walk by her. And when I look at what she printing, what is she printing? This whole thing on the Vesica Pisces, but it was like notes. It was like niggas was sitting there listening to the notes that I was talking about, took notes, then sent her the next day to basically put the notes into a joint so they could put a book out. You see what I'm saying? Another fake book out and shit, and then boom, it's on. Like, this is the type of stuff that was happening. I literally watched niggas try to literally become other people to then buddy hustle up to dudes and then give dudes more accolades than they really deserve, only because so many people hype this individual up. So that's when I started to see that this has now become a cult of personality. And being that I'm one of the personalities in it, it would be hard pressed for people to separate me from that. So you know what I got to do?
Separate yourself.
Separate myself from all of these niggas.
And even people that you might have grown up with, loved, because they were showing so much affinity for something that just came out of left. And mind you, this person wasn't raised in Brooklyn. So it's like we were at, fairs and festivals and we running. Like, there's a certain sect of people in Brooklyn that even if I didn't know, I know.
Word.
And how I know, I was out here the other day at Whole Foods, and this guy rolled up on us and was like, "Yo, it's no fair." Mind you, we know him from Brooklyn. We never hung out with this person. We just, hey, what's up, brother?
Like the street fair.
But a lot of people do that. And that's also a sign of like, okay, what do I attract? Am I attracting some psychotic behavior that thinks that we have more to deal with than we actually do? And, it's just to take a step back. It's like watching all these documentaries about how people really trust the wrong people or whatever, and something happens. That's when I started to be like, look, even if we leave where we don't, we left New York when we didn't want to leave. Because at the height of everything, I felt as though something needed to be, how like vampires love sucking on the blood, and they really trying to mess with them. They really were. And they were very successful.
Trying to make shit, and was trying to make shit hard to do the work. So like I said, I'll be doing a lecture, and people come, and then the next thing you know, these things got 2 other lectures the same day. But then because more people come to my joint than their joint, they shut their joint down, come to my joint, then all of a sudden, right before the lecture is over, like the lights go out. Like, this is the type of stuff that's happening. Like, sabotaging. Like, that's the type of shit you niggas is doing. Like, they're not above that. They're not above going through your garbage. Like, these guys are like, you think the white man
is the devil.
You know what I'm saying? These niggas will do to the real one digging. You get what I'm saying? And I don't believe in my heart that they actually started that. I believe, or I would like to think that it evolved into that because of their lack of integrity, because of their lack of accountability, because of the fact that they're not willing to put their real name out there. You know what I'm saying? Because they would get money from people, and then as soon as people send them money, they don't call them back.
What is that?
No.
It's like, it's so sad because it really does. People were really giving these people money in hopes to get paperwork, house clarity, whatever it was. And it's
but even the elders was buddy hustling up to these young niggas
they was like
to get money.
It was like this.
Doing work with them. Like one brother, like my god brother, we were doing a lot of work in the hood and stuff like that, building. And next thing I know, we was going to do an album. We did a great album together. It's about to come out. We started doing promotion for it on the YouTube and all that. You can go back and look. It's on there now.
But you weren't part of
the next thing I know,
you weren't a part. He wasn't a part of the group that his mother created to have trusting individuals around, so that their son could choose from whatever vagina they wanted to pierce, or choose whatever. Because mind you, some of these elder women created groups so that their child wouldn't have to date or wouldn't have to look for vagina. If I can create a group of women that all wear head wraps and that see my son as some type of prince or some type of leader, then he'll have the pick of the litter. So not only did this guy have sex with all these women, but these groups were formed to destroy whatever good relationships were taking place with young people in our community.
Everybody I
So
knew.
now there's a big separation because we don't think that old people are really invested in creating groups that will disseminate young people's love or that will make young people in love question their union. Every couple that I have met that went through this little group think tank broke up, and then the woman became pregnant, and then the young man became the godfather. But then 10 years later, we discover that the godfather is a title given when women have had sex with these men and are trying to create some type of annoyance with the baby daddy. So I've met a lot of cool baby daddies who are like, oh no, yeah, my son is the godfather of so and so, but in actuality, he was sleeping with all of the women to get the title of godfather so that he wouldn't have any responsibility. He could still get all money. He could still be popular. Like, I didn't know that. We didn't know any of that. And because he worked with the guy that was propped up to be the king of this whole thing,
I'm like, yo.
Everybody was annoyed because a lot of the people...
Then they start hating on me.
Because a lot of the people that went through that group felt as though
they was going to be next to him. They was going to be the one with him and all that. And me, and I'm looking at this nigga like, So then we wound up doing an album on the humble.
But I knew his mother did like the association. So I told us here, I guarantee you this elder mother will get him to go from...
Next
6
thing I know,
months later, he's in the army.
So then it was like...
all the work that he did kind of transferred to what I would say to Passion 69.
Yeah. Then the next thing I know, that whole movement that he had flipped up, and then I'm seeing people that was working, that was with him, the people that was with him when he was on the scene is now backing up 6ix9ine and shit. And I'm like, wow, and this is the same place. It was like they almost took him out and they put 6ix9ine in there, and then all of that momentum that he was building, he basically just took it to a whole nother, and you see how that ended up. So all I'm saying is, there was a preponderance every time that I would kind of seem like, okay, maybe I can work with this person. Something would happen, and then I would pull back right away. Like, no, I'm not gonna. I can't even be like I'm sitting here with her. Like, no, I'm not gonna sit next to one of these guys because as soon as I do,
everything is down.
Like recently, the dude, what's his name? The agent. One of these agents. This nigga, he came down here before he set up that consular court shit
in Miami.
The dude who said all that, he came down here to recruit me and the Moors that was out here. And we looking at this dude like
he came out of nowhere.
I'm looking at this dude like I've noticed you popping up on Facebook for maybe 3-4 months before this, but like the stuff that you talking don't even seem like you even know what you're talking about. So I'm a decline. You know what I'm saying? But good luck to you or whatever you're gonna do with whatever. That person, we took a picture. Me and the Moors that was out here. That person took the picture, right? And then brought it back up top other people and said that, oh, see, I see us down with what we doing and blah, blah, blah. So we're this, and that.
I said,
you see what I'm saying? This is what I mean. Niggas using.
Even to be kind in a photo, like, oh, it's thick photo. You gotta think double and say maybe this person.
But peep game, man. But peep game. Like, it's all of us. It wasn't just me in the picture. It was a couple of Moors. Because I was dead. The sheep was dead. The grand sheep was dead.
Isolated and flip it out so that people think him and I are.
Nah, one of the Moors. Big up, one of the Moors from Canada hit me up and was like, yo, Moore, you know this dude? You co-sign this dude? I said, no. I don't rock with this dude. This dude, bro, he got the whole page, and now he got these people, blah, blah, blah. So again, using something clean or what appears to be clean to kind of shield their bullshit. So when I'm starting to see this how niggas is rolling, I start to realize like, yo, I can't even, I gotta make sure, like I got a thing on my phone that when people call me that I don't know, it clicks on to make sure I'm not being recorded. Like this the type of stuff that I never thought I would have to do this with my own people. To teach knowledge, to build on nationality, I gotta go this deep. Okay. Where I gotta vet people because I won't print, have a website or what to do, and specifically this is like, no, you gotta talk to me. We gotta work this out over the course of like 5 to 6 months. You understand? To know how I was gonna do it.
priceless. You can't throw it out there because look who will take it.
Yeah, because as
Look
soon as
who
I
will
do,
steal it.
you're gonna get somebody to come try to turn the whole book into it and create it like it's a whole movement and act like you a part of it. All because somebody's seen you in a picture. That's what I'm trying to say.
All because they sat next to someone who's gotten respect from people in a really. Sometimes I'm like, I just pray sometimes that truth come out even more, and the women can be held accountable because we always talk about these men, but these women, they will saddle up with whatever may have for popularity and then on this brother, he can move mountains. Then as a woman, you're like, oh wow, if she think he can, then he must be cool. No, this woman right here is the dirtiest, and that's why she wear all white every day. She's the grimiest, and that's why she's always talking about. And that's something I never wanted to think of, because then it makes you think that people that are really about this metaphysics, this herbology, these little things, that it's a hustle, and it's not. That's why you got to stay away from people. As soon as you start a hustler, you got to remove yourself.
You don't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
It's good information, but they stop believing
just because I don't agree. Like, there's a lot of books that I've read historically and stuff that have been great, but I disagree with. But that doesn't mean then that the knowledge in the overall book is useless. It just means that aspect of what I'm building on, I don't see relevant based on other associative research that I've done on the topic. So I came from an era where I learned how to research because there was a point in my life where school wasn't really the shit for me, but education was. So I taught myself how to research certain things because I was always into literacy. Because I was raised, one of my earliest memories of childhood is me with my father going to a comic book store. And that opened me up. I had never seen, I didn't know that at the time, I didn't know that there was a place, that there were places like that existed. You understand what I'm saying? I'm like 7, 8, maybe 10. But it was so vivid for me. You understand? That it made an indelible mark on me. Not just the fact that I was there with my father, but my father, who wasn't even really into comics like that. He just was looking for something for us to do during the day. Because he didn't know he was going to be able to get me again. You get what I'm saying? So we just happened to one day after the movie walk into the Forbidden Planet. This is when it was over on 14th Street, not where it is now in Manhattan. It used to be on the corner of where the shoe store is now, on the adjacent block. Anyway, we went there and he told me, yo, go get the books you like. And he made me bring them to him. And then he made me read them. I didn't realize, though, at the time, he was strapped for cash, so he couldn't buy me the books. You understand? So, right. So instead of him, right? So, like, ego-wise, I'm looking at my dad like, yo, he's really dope. He didn't have to do that. Because I was asking him, yo, Dad, can I get this? Can I get that? And I'm like, and he's saying no, but he's like, well, we don't need to do that if we read it. You see what I'm saying? So again, he's not trying to shut me down, but at the same time, he's trying to hold on to his pride.
Right.
See what I'm saying? That's something that I didn't understand until it happened to me. You dig what I'm saying? So I'm not special. This shit is happening to all of us. That's why this nigga is in the position he is as a molestator or whatever, because it was probably done to him. Don't change what he did, but all of this is coming from somewhere. Like I said, at some point, we have to have the conversation with the so-called, quote-unquote, heterosexual people, because they're the ones creating all of these demons.
You know, I agree with you. When I was a counselor, a pastoral counselor at the men's prison here, there was one young man in particular that was in Howard R. Young Correctional Facility that, you know, I used to go and counsel once a week. And he told me that he was molested by a cousin when he was young. And this had messed him up so bad that, of course, he became an abuser and a molester. And he hated, he had such conflict with himself because he went back. You know, I talked to him about confronting, being able to say, now that you're an adult, to his cousin what had been done. And he said, when he did try to do that, his cousin was now married, and has a family, has gone on with a seemingly normal life, is telling him that didn't happen there. And he knows it happened. He was younger than him, and he molested him, but now he's put it aside and been able to go on with a seemingly on the outside normal life, but not knowing. Yeah.
So we'll see.
But here's this young man that not only was abused, but he now he's in prison because he abused someone, because nobody dealt with,
This is why
hurt people.
I didn't expect to become like someone who I didn't even realize. Someone who gave me the title the other day. I said, I am a grief counselor. I didn't even think of myself as that. But you don't want to attract people that are in a downtrodden state. But oftentimes we're not taught how to let these things go. We're not taught how to break these hexes, these curses that have been put on us. And it's not to say that, so much has happened to so many of us that we've been emotionally abused, maybe tied into somebody that we shouldn't have been. But there are ways that you can get certain things off. It's stuff that you have to do yourself. You don't ever want to empower somebody else to do certain things that you can just do. And again, these are just small rituals, but we're so not taught to value rituals based on what happened with Christianity, how we were really taken away from herbs. Like even myself, in doing what I do, I sometimes have to remind myself to practice what I'm making, to ingest what I know. Like just recently, because Aseer got sick, that's when everything, I was like, oh, he's sick, time to start juicing. But why did it take a sickness for me to remember I can make a huge pot of dill, a dandelion, a woodroot, or all the things that I used to do? Because the human body sometimes needs a little boost in the ass and a reminder. And that's what we want to be for each other. It's not a pedestal, but if I can remind women that, hey, I used to love this, that, and the third, but I'm so much healthier and better without, then that's what we're here for. If I could remind somebody that, yes, abuse is horrible. Like the other day, I'm sorry to jump, I was watching this show, and the DeBarge family, shout out to Ashley Said So, the DeBarge family, how much abuse went down from the father, who happens to be Caucasian, but the mother, who was an original woman, knew that her children were being taught how to rape, knew that her children were being taught how to molest. This man, who had his own children, would put a little girl on top of a little boy and move their body up and down at the age of 2 to teach them how to molest, how to rape. So now the 10 children are all raping and molesting each other. The boys are being molested. The girls are being raped. The sister and the brother have a relationship. And the mother is aware of it all. So what is really going on? This type of sex magic needs to be addressed. This type of Crowley worship needs to be addressed because it's transferring into our communities now, to the point that I hear the little girl was jizzed on 6 times. But that number, 6 and 14, knowing that the girl just came into her 14th birthday, 6 times. I told this boy was performing a Crowley ritual on her so that he could take her purity, that he can live a little longer. But we don't think this type of, magic. We don't think like that. And that's sometimes a problem. I didn't want to think, hey, how can I use the bay leaf in my home to protect? Oh, she's sitting right behind you. To protect myself from nefarious spirits. How do I use bilberries to heal certain things or to get my own, my first boyfriend of 8 years? Little stuff that we can do. We're not taught because the elders said, you know what? It's better to be a Dole. It's better to be in Circle 7. Them groups don't teach you nothing about herbs, nothing about how we can heal each other with a little. A lot of people do a lot of skullduggery, but that type of work, when you're innocent, you can sometimes feel it because you're not aware that they're sending you such type of energy. So how? Finished.
We used to do a lot of initially. I never liked doing the same type of lecture. So I would do something, and I would kind of take a field of what the people would want to do the knowledge to, and then I would tailor the lecture around that, as opposed to just arbitrarily putting what I want to talk about. So I would build on stuff specifically that was happening to me, like with the fallacy of family court video, or when I started to really get into the understanding of what was happening to the children through SRA, which is satanic ritual abuse. That's a big thing. I even dedicated my book to survivors of that, the Dark Skull 418. If anybody read it, you read the header point. You see, I dedicated the whole book to that because I realized that I was also a product of that. She was a product of that. You were a product of that. We have all been a product of some sort of SRA, satanic ritual abuse. We just are so myopic and we don't understand that when they talk about shaitan or the devil or whatever, we're talking about the lower self, the reptilian core that only deals with that which is immediate, not long term. So I started to really do the knowledge to that. So a lot of initial tapes that I would do would be almost to kind of put it out there in the community so you could see what was happening. So I did a tape called Porcelain Doll Program. Right? Excellent. I did another joint called What the F, a Moorish American's modern view on modern sex, right? And in that video that came out over a decade ago, I was talking about all the shit that's happening now. The trans shit, the gay shit, how they was using sexual rituals in the gang culture. All that stuff is in that video. You know what I'm saying? And mad people was coming to it, but I started noticing the more I started doing videos like that, the more the blacklist started. The more niggas was doing certain things to put me in a context almost to fight them. Like one day, the one time Bobby Hemmett, big up to him, brought me before the people, which the one time, which also happened to be, the lecture happened to be taking place in a Masonic lodge. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Now it was a lodge right around the corner. It's a clandestine lodge, I think that's still there in Harlem, right around the corner from the Apollo. Right around in that area. Yeah, it's not that far from there. Yes. And we was in there, and it was clandestine, meaning that their initial charter, even though they've been there for mad years, didn't really come from a real lodge, alleged. So I'm doing the knowledge, like, so, you know what I'm saying? Like, I have a staunch anti-Freemasonry thing. So when I'm finding out, okay, this is where it's going to be out, or whatever, I'm not that. So I could be around ciphers and all of that, you know what I mean? Because now I know what to look for. And of course, I was invited, right? And I was invited. So if the elder trying to give me props, then hey, because that's how they used to do it. The elders used to bring the young cats up before the people, so that way they could now step back. And now the young dudes do it, and it's the same thing. My generation, I think, was the last one that was doing that. Like I was like one of the last niggas for that. And then
what happened? You had to have a real egoless person like Bobby Hemmett.
Inshallah.
Because some of the elder teachers,
he brought it up. He brought me up. It was mad dope, but people don't know before then, right before I came up on the stage, I'm in the hallway arguing with one of these niggas that's upset because I didn't call him on the phone when I said I was going to call him. You know what I'm saying? He happened to be a cousin of one of the lecturers and stuff, but I knew him from back in the days when we used to run the street in Empress. So I'm like, okay, cool, but dude is taking it to a point like, so what, you trying to fight about this shit? And that's when I started realizing, like, yo, a lot of these niggas is mad emotional, which means that either they are very emotional or things have happened to them or they on some sort of substance. There's a lot of that going on, you know what I mean? Substance abuse and shit. And then I was just like, you know what? I'm not going to sit here and try to discern why a grown man is playing himself with me. And I'm starting to do the knowledge at the timing of this, though. This is right before the elder.
It was to negate that.
You see what I'm saying?
Or to mess him up that he wouldn't even be ready.
Yes.
Because if I can mess up God before he meets another version of himself, then it's like,
oh, I'm throwing this nigga off because I don't like that this nigga's getting respect from this person. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what it really be with dudes. A lot of times it be straight ego. This nigga got more girls in his lecture than me. This nigga got more blah, blah, blah in his thing than me. So I'm hating on that. So I'm going to find something wrong with him. I'm going to send somebody to him to act like they're going to get help so that way he can help them so I can find out the whole process that he's doing so now I can then go charge it or I can then go try to derate him to somebody else. This is the type of whole shit that these niggas is out here doing.
And that's unfortunate. That's unfortunate. I mean, because even with this, you know, I do what I do. For instance, I because I'm led. You know what I mean? When you have a calling to do something, there's times I don't want to do it. I don't feel it in my body, but my spirit says, "You said yes," And because you said yes, you got to show up, you know,
Got to
and
do it.
you got to do it. And so folks, I mean, some folks do it, like you said, for the, you know, for the fame, the fortune, the finance, or whatever, females, you know, all that stuff. But some folks do it because, you know, like you said, many are called, but few are chosen.
You are chosen.
When you're chosen to do something, it, you know, you have a burning, there's a like that, an invisible cord that pulls you on the stage, so to speak, out in the spotlight, and says, okay, given what I've given you to give, what I've downloaded to you, you give to them. Freely you have received, and freely you give. And so a lot of people don't have that, unfortunately, that ethic. That's not the reason, because there's always, like you said, imposters. There are always imposters to the throne, and people that want that because they envy. The spirit of envy is upon them. But then there's others that are just like, you know what? I do what I do because I have to. You know, like, how you do that? I do it because I have to. Yes. I do it because this is the mission for which I've been called to and for which I agreed to. And so once you find purpose, you know, when you live life on purpose, and obviously that's what you do, you know what I mean? It will put you where you're supposed to be at any point. And even though the opposition may be there, it doesn't affect the outcome, because it didn't come from you, it's coming through you.
Absolutely. And I think that's a lesson, that's a great meditation. That's a great lesson, Goddess. Thank you, Dr. G, for that.
You know, in the Bible.
And also just to be reminded that, you know, oftentimes you are led with the gift, and but it's also when you are an elder to be able to continue to make proper choices and say, I don't, you know, I want to share this, but in sharing this right now, it might be too preemptive. We've got to let people see certain things for themselves as well. And it's a balance, because back in the day, I used to be a little more like wanting to warn women, because you're supposed to. If you see something, say something, right? Some women don't want that. Some women want to be in the illusion. They like to be, you know, romance, and they like to be led astray. And you sometimes have to allow that to take place in order for them to learn, and for you not to feel as though, you know, everything that you say is going to be taken a little harshly. But that's something that I learned watching certain elders in my community really use certain young women.
I watched them cherry pick. They'll go right over us, and they'll go pick the grimiest nigga to go do election at the spot. Like, I literally
and you've got to
that.
have an ego where you're not going to be triggered to like want to be chosen, or say, well, why would you do that? You just got to let it go, let them be, and pray that somebody doesn't get hurt. Pray that a woman doesn't get robbed. Pray that this girl doesn't get raped, because they're so engendered to want to like that for something. You just got to let that be, or else you look like the hater. You look like you're trying to deter people from being friends or from gaining camaraderie.
Do it. And you look like what they're doing to you. They try to displace you.
So then you've got to now sit with the knowledge that you know that this woman is no good. She'll rob, steal, lie, but you know what? She's known for being good. So if now you're the first person to say something, not only are you a hater, but you're talking bad. And I realize, like, I want all women of color to be successful and to make money, but not at the cost of our
soul,
innocence, or our souls. Like, it's sometimes not right how people will lie. But if you say, look, this lady right here, she a liar. Now you look like, how you tell me my best friend's a liar? Oh, this woman, well, she travels the world and she sat next to this brother. And
some people.
So now you look stupid because you try to warn somebody about what happened. What I learned, sometimes you got to really ask spirit and pray. And this is where, you know, praying with a little bit of nature and saying, God, if it's not for me to say, then they're going to have to learn on their own. Because I also don't want to be the bringer of bad news all the time.
You
got to, you know, find that balance as well.
You also have to take into account that everybody's still a work in progress.
Yeah.
Like everybody in the black community, like the so-called black community, even in the so-called Moorish community, man. You got people that's just waiting for you to say the wrong thing so they can make a whole videotape about how you not this and how you not that. And see here, this nigga not this, not that. And it's like these niggas just was only been conscious for like a little less than a biscuit. And then they out here basically trying to tell you how to nationalize and do all this other type of stuff. That's why you'll never see me going back and forth with any of these people. I don't care what anybody is saying or whatever. because in the end, it can only be based upon how I present myself, what they talk about. And I don't present myself no other way than this. You understand what I'm saying? And I've been like this for so long. Obviously, this is me. However, I can understand why people wouldn't believe that, because there's a lot of other people that try to do the same thing. However, there are certain aspects of this that cannot be overlooked, such as when you see a bunch of morals and they talk about what you should do in this, and it's all these dudes and no females around, something's up, bro. If you see somebody that's constantly out here talking about what they got or whatever, and they doing this and that, but you've never seen them actually have it, then something is not right. We did a couple of couple of videos back in the days, and one of them in particular was really just building on how they create these demons. And in the female body, they put a male demon, which they call an incubus. And then in the female body, they put it's the opposite. In the female body, they put the incubus. In the male body, they put the succubus when it's flipped. So you got a male demon in a female body, right? A female demon in a male body, okay? And the society has used that now as a means to try to make it seem like people who aren't that way, there's something wrong with us now. So in essence, there's less so-called gay people, trans people, all of that in the entire world. It's literally less than like 0.1 or whatever, 2%. Like if we do a whole global thing of people on that. So it's not even enough to fill a whole country the way that you would think, okay? Because there's a lot more people against it as a military agenda, which is what it is right now, than it just being a lifestyle option. If it's a lifestyle option for you, then you can opt into that or opt out. But once you make it a military agenda, whereas if I'm not that, something's wrong with me, now we're dealing with mind control. Now we're dealing with satanic ritual. So one of the biggest rituals that these guys do and why they use children is the Moonchild ritual, in which they learned this from Crowley, but Crowley learned it from another deviant who was down with the German branch of this stuff. And this idiot basically tried to play it out in his own life and sacrifice his own daughter in this ritual, going into Tibet. So the way that the ritual itself works is they use the pyramid. Now, if you notice, a lot of so-called Satanists use Egyptian modalities and iconography in their stuff. I don't know if you've noticed that, but a lot of, like, if you look into a lot of old occultists like Aleister Crowley, Manly P. Hall, Aldous Huxley, Annie Besant, Dion Fortune, a lot of them will use a lot of Egyptian iconography that is symbolic to the devil. That's because a lot of those people that they refer to as Hamites or whatever were also following an old, corrupt, pre-dynastic, pre-creational form of dark magic that was culminated in a group that they refer to as the Harishaf. And the Harishaf is an ancient evil that, which you could say all these other evils we dealing with are manifestations of.
Word.
The Harishaf era was so evil in Kemet and so destructive that Menemhotep, the first Menemhotep II, when he was actually able to subdue them, wiped all memory of them from all of the records, okay? And we didn't find out about them until later because some of them escaped and they went into different areas. One of them areas they went into was what we today call, what we know is Peloponnnesia. They call it the Mediterranean or Greece, okay? At the time, it was a satellite of the Minoan people. And while they were there, a group of them that escaped the killing.
That means that there's a group of
right? There was a group of these niggas. And remember, these is melanated people now, okay? There's no white people at this point. You know what I'm saying? And they're going into another place in the ancient world, and then they set up what eventually became known as the Herculi. Herculi, the Herculi, which became the Heracles or the Heraclef cults, dedicated to Hercules. Dedicated to Hercules. And when you look at there's a painting called The Three Paths of Hercules, and one of the paths, one is one where there's like a lion. Then there's another one where all of these guys that he's got to beat up. There's another one where there's a little baby. And so they say that Hercules, in one of the last labors, had to go the route of the innocent. And this is where he's allegedly sacrificed this baby. And so the Heraclef recombine themselves as the Heracles or the Hercules cults. And then from those Hercules cults, they wound up the Herculi that became Hercules, that then became Hera, right? That then became the Hellenists, that then became the Hellenists, right? The Hellenistic people, right? They then move all of that stuff back into Ptolemaic Egypt, and now they link it all back up together. So then it reaches another thing where we got to shut them down. This is when Hannibal comes, shut all this shit down for a while, right? Then they regroup again. They banish him to a mountain. This mountain is called Areopagus. And then these people become known as Areopagites. These are the deviants. But in order for them to get money and survive, they banish to the mountain. So they can't come down. They can only come down to put on plays. These plays were called pageants or beauty pageants. And this is where they would go do Midsummer Night's Dream, whatever else, or whatever, cut their penises off and stuff, and whatever. And then this is where they would give all of their arms to this god, another god of the Hereshef called Attis. Attis is now today in our time called the Statue of Liberty. That's a dude, right? And Attis is the inverted, castrated god for the castrados. And so in Roman law, when you cut your penis off or change your sex, you're no longer considered a human being. So the state gets to own your property. So now think about this today. When you become non-binary, whatever, what happens? You cease to be what? A male or female, which then means what? Rome can come in and take your property and own you. You understand?
The prescription.
Which is all of this. So all of this culminates in all of this stuff I'm talking about culminates now in all these different variations of depravity that we see coming to us from the ancient world to the modern time. It can all be traced to one situation because these are the people who are using the reptilian section of the brain in the negative and then started to amplify that and start to dupe other people to give up aspects of their selves to it to keep the entity
going
that they have collectively given life to non-physically, you see what I'm saying? Physicality in this world. So the moon child ritual is when they take the child, usually a female, and they put them in a pyramid room or a pyramid. But the female girl, the little girl, has to be on her menstruation, her first menstruation. So this is around what age? 13, right? Which is the mystic number for the Moors, right? Which 1 and 3 is 4. That's knowledge, understanding, albeit born to culture, freedom. So this is the way of life, because culture is how you express yourself and the freedom by which that expression derives. So they get the young female in there. They put her in the pyramid. Then while she's on her menstruation, they send 3 deviants in there to have sex with her, basically rape her. But what is happening is the energy that is being built up in this situation is spiraling up into the top of the pyramidion, which then comes back down in the form of the energy that they're all experiencing. So think about it.
Kind
Her
of like
menstruation,
the
yes.
Blade movie, and they would put all the people in a circle. In the
Yes, like in Blade at the end. Yes.
To give a visual.
Thank you.
And they slit all their throats and the blood
Yes.
and everything, and it comes up to the top,
Yes.
and then it gives the power that
Moon
they
child.
The loosh.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it comes down,
Yes. You know
right?
what I'm talking
But what's happening, remember, her menstruation, she's bleeding out.
And then that's
They are
up
shooting
in.
energy in.
So
So
that-
it's this. constantly. So now what happens is that sperm, which represents the individual rapist, right, is now conscious in the mind of the victim.
The girl.
So now that being, whether they're alive or dead, can now become immortal by living in the consciousness of this child, of this person that they've done this to. Because at any minute, as soon as they go to sleep and have a dream about the rape, the individual is there. You understand what I'm saying? So now they're existing in the body of the rapist. So now they're raping them again on the astral. This is the problem. And this is why these niggas blacklisted me, because this is the type of shit that we was talking about.
Sage right there and the little bay leaf right there. I'm gonna talk about this after sage and burn, because it's real and it's true and it's sad because I don't know what happened where a lot of people of color started practicing.
They on that. They on that now. Now these same dirty chicks that was basically out here using Chemite philosophy and Chemite this or whatever to con chicks into doing orgies. Y'all know who y'all are. Y'all know what was going on in Frank's Lounge and shit in Brooklyn. Y'all know.
They were doing a lot.
They was doing a lot of bullshit, man, and we was not with it. But if you want to hear about it, that's the other reason why I don't give these niggas names, because everybody know who I'm talking about. Because all you got to do is listen to Superhero Radio for the past 7 years. We talked about it. When all y'all niggas was going to the award shows with these guys. When all y'all niggas was talking about how this person was setting fires with their mind and how much they was smarter than everybody else. How we don't need to listen to no elders no more and shit. Like, this is what was going on. We was tabulating and keeping record for the day. For the day that all of this shit came out. And now we can actually be vindicated, because niggas would come up to me, tell me, yo, why you not doing lectures? Why you not blowing up like Homeboy? Why you not doing this like Homeboy? You ain't really doing it if you ain't doing it like him. You ain't really doing it if you're not getting an award from this person.
No doubt.
You're not really doing it. Like, you understand what I'm saying?
No doubt. And this is what it is with peer pressure. That's another form of peer pressure. And you feeling as though the work that you've done really isn't being acknowledged, because the little core group that makes it really pop hasn't acknowledged you. Sometimes the devil can't acknowledge God like that.
Yeah.
And bay leaf, the reason why I'm showing people this, put a bay leaf in all the corners of your house to protect all the members in your house.
That's right.
Use bay leaf, write down what you want.
Write it on it.
He sees it in black, mine's in red. I always write my stuff in red. Write in red the wishes, the things that you would like to see come to fruition, and then burn it. Burn it. People forget the power of burning. Certain things they bring into thought, certain things they bring into existence, because it's creating the ride. It's like the energy that brings things into existence.
After a while,
if it's not a man or a woman, the fire. See how my cat got there? The fire is literally the igniting energy. So just to remind people, bay leaf, corner of their house. Also, you can write any type of feeling you feel like somebody doing workings on you. Bay leaf. Keep it in your pocket. Put it under your pillow. It will dispel negativity. It will help psychic abilities. It will help you draw the good elements in dreams. These are all small things, and it's so funny because it's like, oh, I don't believe. You don't have to. The person that has belief will spark the whole thing. So it's not to say that these things don't work, but when you believe that someone else has power to do workings on you, your family, they do. I don't believe these things, but I'm also, in things that I've experienced in my past, I also know that in not being aware, you can be like an open vessel for people to send things to, because you aren't aware that these things are happening. So sometimes we want to fortify ourselves. Of course, sage, white sage works, red sage, dragon's blood sage, but bay leaf. You could get this out the corner store. Bay leaf alone. The same thing with dill. Dill works really great. It's like chill with dill. Dill works really great for the same type of thing, just to protect a little bit. Also, bay leaf is great if you want to make sure that your job isn't going to be given to someone else, or you want to get a job. Just sprinkle a little bay leaf. Don't let anybody see. sprinkle a little bay leaf outside of the interview room or when you're going to enter. Just shake a little and watch what happens.
See, all of that, what we talking about, what we used to understand as homespun wisdom, that's more as science.
We'll start sharing
all of that
more.
old stuff our ancestors was talking to us about, like you could cut up an onion and then put the four corners of onion in the biggest part of the room and then leave it there to absorb all the negative energy. And once you feel the negative energy gone, you pick up all the onions in the order you put them in a brown bag, bury it somewhere where nobody can find it.
Absolutely.
That type of stuff we have been taught against. We have been taught against that. All so that way we can accept shit like
a feng shui person coming in our house.
No, I'm thinking so we can accept shit like the jab.
Pharmaceuticals,
the jab, exactly. Make you do that. Like that's why. I ain't gotta worry about that. The other day we did a whole thing, told people how to make regular like natural quinine. But drink that shit every day.
Not only that, I think it's really because it does take away people's ability to feel as though they can charge you.
Money.
You know, if you're doing a reading, if you shouldn't be giving somebody consistent money to get readings from that one person, period. Also, just random readings from people that you don't know what they may be going through, not safe. Giving people your birthday that aren't necessarily doing workings or not very safe anymore. There's also a lot of little things I'm going to start to do more and sharing what we can use just out of our kitchen that can really start to help and empower. But you know, we go to a doctor, we go to the dentist, we forget about little things, and even I had to get sick the other day just to remember. Oh, I'm hoarse. Where's my mullein root? Where's my
And again, let me not jump off the ledge either. Let people think that we on some extreme shit either. I'm not saying that doctors or nurses don't have their place either. I'm not saying that because there's certain things that need, like if you get a bone splint, you can't fix that with herbs. You got to go to a podiatrist and get that handled. You understand what I'm saying?
Some people get real pains on the side and they think that it's the appendix. It could be a kidney stone. It could also be something that you need to get checked at the doctor.
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. Like there's everything in moderation. You know what I mean? Helps build a better nation. However, we cannot depend more on that which is physical to explain things than that which is within us that is non-physical, that is there to kind of help us discern what we're seeing. When you cut off yourself from your intuition, you are leaving yourself open for everything else. So if anybody telling you, oh, nah, you don't need to read that, you don't need to do the knowledge to that. No, do the knowledge to everything. But when you're doing the knowledge to it, understand that your wisdom is going to come with what you are comprehending. And once you've comprehended that knowledge, how you apply it represents what your understanding is. So that's what I'm trying to say. Like, we don't give ourselves in the community the time to almost discern something, because as soon as you make your mind out about something, here comes somebody else with another video now trying to give you doubt about what you just reconciled with yourself. So it comes to a point where you got to cut off everything external and go within self and say, what is resonating as truth for me, without the peer pressure, without the internet, without the spouse, without whatever, but within you, what is going to help make you a better person? And is this knowledge empowering me, or is it making me feel more isolated, more depleted, more scared? Like, certain people will do lectures and it's like, well, damn, the white man just going to run everything. We can't do nothing. Then some people do a lecture, right?
Yeah, like this is just.
Then some people do a lecture and it was like, I'm high, like I just feel great. You dig what I'm saying?
Yeah, yes.
And that is because each, like I said, the community itself manifested archetypes that would reflect and respond and connect to different people within the so-called community. And those archetypes, in a sense, would feel that they represented them. But what happened was the people started relying more on the archetype that represented what their ideology or thought or action was, instead of them taking it outside of that lecturer and being that themselves.
Totally.
You understand? That's where we are with everything, whether it's more science, whether it's the Nation of Gods of Earth, whether it's the Hebrew Israelites, whether it's the Christians, whether it's the Scientologists, the atheists, the Luciferians, whatever.
So much.
Everybody. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Everybody is dealing every day with the same things. It's what I'm doing right or wrong. Am I going to see right? Am I moving further away from heaven or closer to hell? Is this person really my friend? Does this woman really love me? Does this nigga really love me? Do my parents really want to raise me? These are the questions that are more important than, well, which Moor came out of Kemet at what point, and when did those Moors decide they wasn't Moors no more? All of that is conjecture. All of that is whatever. We could talk about that all day. But can we talk about what we need to do today to be able to make it so that way when we declare who we really are before man, before Allah, before God, that we are really secure and happy with that decision and can be backed up by other souls that have made that same choice and have seen an upward mobility in their life? Can you say that? If you can't, then you bullshit.
And I agree with you. Yeah, I'm going to cut you, but I agree with you. And I've said it many, many times. We are very myopic. And you said it even earlier. We're so myopic that to always focus on what you were saying and not look at the bigger picture of what makes you you is it's such a loss in one's life. If all I ran around, if I have to say, like I'm a Moor. Well, I got a sign on I'm a Moor or I'm a female. No, if I'm a Moor, if I'm a female, those things are things you just be. But what did this Moor or this female, what is my purpose? Why am I here? Why did I incarnate? What should I be focusing on in this lifetime in order to move me, higher in this ascension, and so I can get out of these third dimensional, prison and get into higher dimensions? And we don't get there. So people keep recycling over and over and can't remember.
Leave. They don't want us to get further. They don't want us to get out of this shit. They want us to stay in it because they don't believe none of this shit. That's the other side. Half of these conscious community people don't even believe the shit that they be spouting.
I think
they just do it to get money.
I think that's when it
or entertainment.
When I learned from one,
but that's the same thing preachers do. Half of them don't believe what it is they preach.
When I learned from one of these elders' children. Great girl, she's only a couple years younger than me. But, she said to me, my mom doesn't drink any of the things she sells. My mom doesn't make, and I was like, what? Because we couldn't believe it. She was like, not only that, she sits in the room at night and eats chocolate bars. She just went through, and I said, God, why are you sending me people that tell and confess and put me on to real shit? Why do I always have to find out the truth about nothing? I did keep it quiet. It's a rule. But not only
that, if niggas asked you,
it allowed me to say, wow, these people really did all of this and don't practice and believe in any of it. So it humbled me to just say, this not only is not what I don't want to become, but what happened where the things that we read, we stop believing in. The things that were spiritual, just little spiritual stuff. What took Lou? Money, fame, all these, and that's when we were talking about, us ascending and being able to think. Not everybody has to play a major role. Not everybody has to be popular or seen. Most of the most pivotal energies take place in hidden, unseen, quiet. And that's something that I remind myself of. Doing stuff that I love doing, but I'm going to say, look, it's 10:30. I've got to disappear again into the abyss because I made myself take 2 hours off to have this amazing meeting, but to know that there's people out there that are grateful for finding things that actually work, because I'm not lying about what's in the ingredients. I'm not saying something sold out just to attract more people to my site. I'm not creating loopholes of illusion just so that I can saddle myself with someone famous. And it's sad, but I didn't know that people really wanted fame and approval and money to that degree. Yes, we want to take care of ourselves and our families, but not to the degree that I'm going to put my son into a program where he will be given the vaccination and just so that I can get a consistent paycheck. I know people that will act sick just so they can receive certain disabilities. Now, is it wrong? Yes, it is. Because as above, so below. If you play that role, you are somewhat asking for it to be made into reality. And I don't think people really see that the things that they talk, it comes into it can become real. It can become something that you start to believe in. So again, Dr. G, it's been almost a year, and I really want to thank you because I always say I might just be on somebody's show once, and I don't know what it is that they'll go through because women are great in never trying to sound like gossipy or share certain truths. But I know based on certain things, especially when women have certain female energy on, I just want to protect the people that invite us, like you, and say thank you a year later for not only having us on, but for just saying, hey, I remember those people. Because we all are still here, but what becomes popular enough that people get fed, their channels get fed through, and they say, you know what, they were cool, but I like the one that gives me all the numbers. So I'm going to work with that. And I just want to thank you, Dr. G, for having an opportunity for us to exist like this. Next.
Also, I wanted to say that, there's a Bible verse that says, there's a verse in the Bible that says, those who do good works are supposed to do them. I'm paraphrasing. But when you do good works for people, you're supposed to do it in the dark. You're supposed to do it in the secret. Right? Didn't it say it? That's a verse, right? You're supposed to do it in secret. And because those people who are doing shit for the public, they are automatically going to be rewarded for the world. But they are not going to be welcomed into the kingdom because they did it for their own excess, right? I'm paraphrasing it.
Right.
But that's basically the essence, right? So that's why I said, realize very early on, okay, if I'm going to help people, I got to deal with the people directly. So I'm not going to set up a website for people to download this and download that and then never speak to them again and blah, blah, blah. Because again, I know what it was like coming to it and going to these same people, striving to get help and this and that. And these niggas can't do nothing for you, but they will tell you everything but the fact they don't know. And so then you jump off the ledge doing something thinking that this person's got your best interest in mind, when really they just needed that $10 you gave them for the console so they could get home. You understand? Like, this is the type of stuff that you're dealing with. So when it comes to the constant back and forth of people trying to reconcile information and then trying to go at individuals. And then when you see individuals that were never a part of the so-called community,
can't jump on that.
that were never a part of the so-called community, but then they coming in exposing niggas in the community all of a sudden, that shows me that this community has now become the underground mainstream. They don't have nothing they can do in the mainstream people no more. So all these mainstream people coming to us while at the same time trying to act like this community ain't the biggest shit in the black community. It is. Mm-hmm. It's so big that most people don't know that it's even here. And when people didn't know it was here, we was a lot more together. Like I said, I brought everybody through my history in it, our history in it, to the point from having it on cassette tapes, to VHS tapes, to then one day CDs. And then from CDs now to MP3s. Now it's to the point you don't even touch the information no more. It's just all in the internet. It's just all in the interwebs.
And with that, big up to, was it Serious Times? Because the Serious Times media brings a lot of the old, those. I was looking at a video the other day from the 90s, and they have a lot of Bobby Hemmett and other tapes. I mean, really, I actually sent an email to the brother who I'm not even sure who runs it, but I want to speak to that person who is involved in Serious Times, because I love the fact that they have such a large, vast archive of our old material, things that when I was in the Christian community, I didn't know about this stuff. You know what I mean? So now I can go back and listen and at these things and actually realize how current it is, even though they were saying it 25, 30 years ago.
It becomes most current now. It's really weird that does happen. I noticed that as well. And just again, being grateful to not believe in so much hype. I'm even looking at my cats. And do you know I'm allergic to cats? Been deathly allergic to cats my whole life. And I said to myself, based on certain energy and that, I said, I need cats in my life. But I'm deathly allergic. Like I used to get shots and had to take Seldane and Claritin D, all these things. When you hang around a cat from a baby, keep it in your face, sleep with it for a week, sneeze, cough. I mean, I was like going crazy. One, two. Not only have I pushed through the allergy, but I'm not allergic to my cat.
You was allergic to salmon too.
And so I waited 40 years to own a cat because I love cats, but I can't touch them.
How many cats do you have? I saw more than one.
Let me tell you the funny joke about the cats. I bought 2 cats. I wanted a boy and a girl. The woman who breeds the Savannah breed, because Savannahs are a very short hair cat, and I'm just explaining this for people that might want cats and didn't know. There are several cats, meaning that they eat meat. They eat raw meat.
They're like 80% wild.
They're 80% wild. So my cats, I purchased 2 of them, and they're not cheap cats. I had to save for these cats.
They grow about this big, like the size of a dog.
Now the funny thing is, the lady that brought the cat to me, she dropped the cat off. You know, I'm all happy, but I opened the bag. One of the cat's eyes is so messed up. Then I was like, I didn't buy. You know how sometimes you order something and you get something a little faulty? I always find it interesting that I usually get something that's broken, or people like to give me something that they can't sell to anybody else. So I had these 2 cats, but you know, I wanted a girl. She gave me 2 boys, and one of the boys, oh, it's just a little irritation. You know, just put these drops. I took the cat to my own doctor. The lady not only lied about the drops, but she lied about the condition that the cat had in the eye. The cat's eye is a lot worse than they led on to believe. But, you know, we can give these people whatever because we won't accept it. I, not being like greedy, I didn't look in the bag and say, well, let me check the cat and make sure. I'm just grateful for what I received. So I received the 2 cats, but then said, look, I'm grateful that I have these 2 cats. I could see that they wanted to give away the boy because nobody wanted to take care of a cat that looked infected and looked like I got all the problems. That's my most loving cat. The one that wanted to be thrown out.
Nothing wrong with him.
Nothing's wrong with him, but he does have a condition. It's herpes of the eye that was given to him by his parents. And because the parents didn't take him the first 8 weeks of his life.
They were just running a puppy mill, trying to, you know what I'm saying, just
running
mad cat.
Running a cat mill. I'm sorry, sometimes I talk a little bit more excitedly than I need to, out of fear of just not being heard. Longer story short, I ended up getting the 3rd cat, the girl, because I felt like, okay, I have these 2 boys, but I really wanted a female to be able to breed them on my own so that people would have the options of owning a cat. Can you turn that down? Owning a cat that's hypoallergenic, basically. And also it was a lesson for me to learn, look at what you're purchasing, Celina. Look at it, because a lot of people love giving me things that more care needs to be given to. But I know that, hey, somebody gonna just throw the cat in the garbage. I paid for it. I might as well keep it. So I ended up getting a 3rd cat a couple of weeks later because I really did want a girl. And I felt a little duped into just being given the 2 boys. But it's also, again, my fault in not doing the due diligence and saying, hey, this is a great cat, but take it back because I want this. I didn't do that. So I ended up getting 3 cats. And mind you, it is a challenge working, and I work in a totally different room that I have my cats in. But also, people, oh, how do you thing them for plants? My cats love my plants. You just have to watch them and teach them not to eat their foliage. But other than that, that was just a lesson in saying the impossible is possible. I didn't ever think that I could own cats, and I've always wanted them just for my own little magical purposes. And I'm very grateful that I ended up buying a 3rd one to complete our little trinity because the whole purpose was to breed them. So now that I do have it, I'm very grateful to hopefully.
If you look up Savannah cats, like F1, F2,
by Dr. G. I love you guys.
They're very like high-end type of joints, so it's definitely a thing. We're definitely going to get into that because
yeah, it looked like they have little spots, almost like a cheetah. Looked like a cheetah.
Yeah, like the size of like mountain lions, like real small.
Oh yeah, because I have a cat, but mine is just a regular domestic short hair named Cat Williams. but he's the
All
character.
right. That's a great name.
He watched, but his Williams is spelled Willums. Williams, not
Yum. Nice.
Yum.
So
Williams.
he's
But he's listen.
how you gonna do it? Out Moadib, Zanzibar, and Zena.
Well,
Moadib.
they're I have a cat and a dog, but my cat is just he watches TV. I don't mean I started him out with mouse TV, cat TV, but now he watches anything. He watches documentaries on mummies. He just
I'm telling you, they upgrading their information. Like I'll be doing my class, and I'll be typing doing my class. The cat will be right there watching what I'm doing. Watch when I'm talking. Now I look around. The other two will be right up around there. Like they be trying to literally. And one time I was teaching class, he was trying to like
type on the computer.
To bring up the image.
With my I one thing, I left the little thing open.
Well, there's something else. This has been wonderful. Of course, we went over, but I didn't want to stop because it doesn't matter. We normally do a 2-hour on Tuesdays, but actually I can go as long as I want to. But I wanted to get you all talk as much as you wanted to, and I'm sure the chat room's still full with over 600 some people plus folks.
Wow.
So, I don't know how they feel about us talking about cats right now, but anyway, that's just a mutual thing.
It's a part of life. Just animals, things that you enjoy, balance.
Well, also is brought up so that way, just to let you know, you can wean yourself off of shit that they say you're allergic to. Like,
you don't forget.
One thing,
I brought it.
That's why we kind of got into it, just to let people know. Just because they tell you something, don't mean that that's what you got to be. You can train yourself.
Yeah, you just can't believe everything that you're told.
Nah, they're gonna tell you shit to keep you limited.
That's right. I wrote something I want to share if you don't mind. That I'm not sure if this is a poem or just a thought, but I wrote something the other day and put it on my thing, and I just wanted to share it. And I called this. I wake up with thoughts in my head, and I just have to write it down. And I called this then and now. Nothing's changed. It's not rhyming or anything, but it's then and now. Nothing's changed. You just have to hear it. Some labored all day in hot fields. Some cleaned, cooked, and served. Some rule, others as government. Others shape minds with their news. Some make music to sing and dance to. Some act in movies and plays we view. Some think they're better than me and you, but something they unknowingly have in common is this: they are merely controlled, mindless corporate puppets and slaves. Right. Be thankful, you who are free to think.
That's right.
And also, even these people that I went from slavery, in the field, so-called slavery, and so-called being in the house and doing it, to all these things that folks are doing now. But if you're doing it because you're being compelled through a controlling force, then you're nothing more than a slave. I don't care how much, you're still a slave. And for us to thinking is still, the most desired state of being, to lose your ability to think for yourself, to be, as you said earlier, caught up in groupthink, to not be able to think independently. You will never get out of this matrix. Absolutely not. And, some folks were asking in the chat, who are they talking about and all that? Some know. We're not going to put anybody out there because they're already out there themselves.
If they want to listen to it, go to Blog Talk Radio and look in the archives for Super Haru Radio. That's Aseer the Duke of Tears, Celina Córdoba L, Empress of 10,000 Years. It's under Super Haru Radio.
We went in
There's 7 years worth of the shit. While everybody was jumping on these people joint and this and that,
it was like
we was letting it all know, because that was the era that I was being low-key blacklisted, low-key hated on, low-key poisoned, low-key they tried to murk us.
But what do we learn? It was sometimes a little too early,
right?
A second too late,
right?
Like we always is in that break.
Yeah, because she's born at the vernal equinox. The fall equinox. I'm born in the spring. So equinox. We are literally
180 degrees apart. His is March 22nd, mine is September 22nd. Right. So when he turns a certain age, it's exactly half of my birthday. Right. And vice versa, but it's also with the time of our births. Oh. We used to think that, it's great. Sometimes it's not, because it can be like a shutdown. We'll enter something and it will close down. or it'll be a little too early. So
Right.
we're
too early,
okay
little
with
too
that.
late, or right on time. So in that, what we tend to find is we tend to meet a lot of people when they're going through a transition, whether it be a transition into consciousness, transition to consciousness, transition into a new job, new life, new relationship, whatever. So a lot of the readings, initially stuff back then we used to do around those type of topics. So like a lot of people ask, well, how come you don't always put yourself in your videos? Like, why don't you, like, you do a lot of videos where it's just like you just hear your voice talking? Because that's what you need to do. Because I'm not an egomaniac. You don't need to see me every time when you already know what I look like. You know what I'm saying? Then I had somebody tell me, oh, well, if I look like you and I dress like that and I feel like that, I'd be on the camera all the time. I said, that's exactly why you don't look like me and you don't do none of that, because that's not what you're supposed to be doing. Like, this is not costume for me. Like, this is how I came into it, because that's how I always was. Whether I was in the Moorish community, the Nation of Gods and Earths, before knowledge itself, there was certain shit that I just wasn't going to do, because that's just me. Has nothing to do with it, what everybody doing now. It's just that I came in the era where you couldn't bite off of somebody else's situation. You couldn't copy off of somebody's information. You couldn't be out here acting like you're something that you're not. So I don't ask for money for shit that I don't do. You know what I'm saying? The bread that I get from people is based on what's on my website, which is my classes, my endeavor, you see what I'm saying? Or the specific help that I would give them over the course of the 6 months. Yeah, it is selfish. I gotta be like that, because that way I'm not trying to receive something for somebody I didn't do. Therefore, nobody could say that I ripped them or took something from them or whatever, because that's not what I'm about. Because that happened to us.
Yes.
So I also do a lot of some of the videos you'll notice that I do on YouTube, they'll have like Latin titles. So people be like, some person said, well, damn, why? It's like I like the video, but I can't even pronounce it because of the title. I said, good. Just share the video. I said, when the reason why I also do that is because it's harder for them to shadow ban me if they don't know how to pronounce the title. Mm-hmm. I've noticed that with YouTube, because I've had a shadow ban on the Blog Talk show. People that was there, remember that? I've had a shadow ban right now on YouTube. They did a survey on Moorish information on YouTube, and they said that my page gets the most, right? But I have less subscribers than everybody else that was on the survey list.
And then they flagged my page.
See what I'm saying?
So no matter how much information I put out, I'll only get maybe 100 views max. Right. But this is why you have to tell people the views, the people. 100 people still is like 10,000 for me, because I know those 100 people really must enjoy the content, the information, because I'm not somebody that they even allowed to be seen more than.
But like I said, when I first did the joint with that platform,
I gotta go, y'all.
Yeah, we gotta go.
Organics.com. Aseer the
It's running down the bottom. It's running down the bottom.
Dr. G, can you send me your stuff again so I could just send you a little gratitude gift? You're gonna be like, no, I want to pay for it, but it's again something that I like to do with people. Period.
I keep you running. I keep you running every show. You're running on the
Well, still, that. I don't even know any of that, and that's why I have to humble and say thank you, because I don't know. I literally hear, and then I'm like a spiral. Like I have to go back into the real world, and I thank you guys so much for supporting someone who's like the least, Thank you. Córdoba Organics has helped all of us, and it's something like one of those things. Even though I have certain passions, it's a calling that was given to me, and because I've went through so much, I just feel like I know what it's like to have arthritis and joint pain. So I'm just grateful for people that really do want to see hair growth and not just put shea butter on their bodies. So thank y'all.
And just to put a pin on it, what I was saying with the other platform, when I first did that, the first out of the 2 joints I did in there, when Celina was sitting next to me, right, in the very first joint, it was called Unlocking History Mystery, I think. And you'll see there's a section in it where it starts while I'm talking, and then there's a cut, and then I start again. That cut was Celina was sitting next to me, just like now, sitting on the couch while I'm talking. And Duke was like, nah, it's too much energy, man. You gotta I just want to have the brother right now. Just have the brother talk. You know what I'm saying? So then maybe a year, 2 years after that, I start seeing dude start promoting this other dude, and then he got like 3 shorties that he not even married to. You know what I'm saying? On the same couch and shit, and going in on just that. So that's when I realized, like, oh, I get it. These niggas is trying to replace anybody that's doing anything real with this dude. So I'm not gonna sit here and beat my chest to be down with that. I'm gonna just stay in my own lane and keep that going. But I'm gonna let everybody know what's happening along the way. Because again, it wasn't just that they was wanting to blacklist you. Certain people, they was literally trying to get up out of here. Myself, a couple of other people, man. I saw him do it to Enki. I saw him do it to a couple of people, man. Low key, just trying to like really just make sure niggas don't come on the scene. So when it get to be like that, and you have a family, like I have a family and children, so I gotta, you know what I'm saying? Even though we all came from aspects of the street, I'm an adult now, a father. I ain't supposed to be out here conscious banging on shit. Like we didn't get into this knowledge to start bringing the street shit into it. We didn't get into this knowledge to fight each other about it. We didn't get into this knowledge to then fall under the jurisdiction of functional illiterates. Because that's what half these niggas are. Functional illiterates. Okay?
Yeah.
So, again,
well, I one last thing I want to say to you. You were talking about how everybody, understanding and overstanding and stuff. I heard Jordan Maxwell say some years ago when I was listening to him explaining about understanding, and it made sense to me. And even though, I was trying to correct myself because everybody says inner and over. But when he explained understanding, because there, conscious community says we don't stand under anything. But when Jordan Maxwell explained that, he said, if you were building a structure, the foundation of something, and you lay the foundation, say you going in the basement, if you're going to put the first floor on the building, you might want to go down in the basement and check how that floor is the foundation on which your overstanding is. If you don't understand, then what your overstanding and understanding might be weak.
It's fake.
Right.
It's another way to seem smarter than people just coming out of the church. A lot of that type of talk was coming around the same time, because these conscious people like to act like because they in the church, because they not in the church, or they wasn't Christian, or they woke up before these other people, that they're somehow better. And that's the problem. A lot of that type of talk was coming around the time people like Ray Hagan was coming out and was basically fresh out the church, and now he got the new hustle. He getting everybody, the Christians, to come and worship Kemet and all this other stuff. But I told you that Kemet shit has a back door. Like the tree of death, which is the cliff off, right? Which starts with Leviathan, that the occultists use, is the exact same tree of life that the Kemites use. I don't know if you know, it's the same. So there's an interchangeable aspect that they use with that, and that was a way that they could get so-called black people into the occult, you see what I'm saying, without them understanding where it was really going. Because let's keep it real. Real Egypt is over here. You know what I'm saying? Real Atlantis is over here. Real Carthage is over here. So all these years, I've been watching these videos. Y'all taking me over there. What was I missing here? You
Absolutely.
See? I decided, no, I'm going to not shit where I live. I'm going to big up the fact that, no, I am a Moorish American. You know what I'm saying? I'm proud of America. You know what I'm saying? This is my country. My ancestors built this shit. You understand? Before any white man, before any Siberian Indians came here, we was rocking it. The first republic in history was established by the Carthaginians, and they were Moors. So y'all can say whatever the fuck y'all want to say, but in the end, my country 'tis of thee. I am we the people. We are the silent majority. You get what I'm saying? We are that. And I'm not going to let some communist nigga who was raised under this fake Pan-African shit come to me and make me hate where I'm at. And don't. Right, and then this nigga not even thing. He's Nigerian or whatever. You know what I'm saying? You got niggas here in America telling you that the continent of Africa is better. I never believed that. And when I did believe that, right, my grandmother, who was going out with the attaché to the ambassador of the Gambia, told me, no, you are not African, Charlie. You're American. Your ancestors is from here. So stop trying to be something you not with this red, gold, black medallion and all this other shit on. So this don't mean that I'm disrespecting Africans, but the word Africa is a Carthaginian word to denote the territory owned by Carthaginians.
And so Africans, so-called, don't even call themselves Africans, so-called Africans. And I just looked at I was looking at a video today that I think Dane Calloway did, and he was actually showing a brother from Africa who was saying exactly the same thing. I watched it today. He said, you are not from Africa. He said, you are American. He said, stop trying to beat it. He said, if I had a choice to say what he said, I would say I'm American. He said, but that's you're not African. He said, I used to wonder when I came here why you all don't look like us. And I said, I could tell an African from somebody born here in a Mexican. We look different.
That's why you can see dude. You can see dude is Nigerian. The one that's in the controversy right now, I could tell an African right now.
Is he from Nigeria?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Half of these niggas that's out here posing like they foundational so-called African Americans, native born Moors, you have these niggas from Africa or Europe or somewhere else.
Wow.
The people that celebrities, I would say 30 to 40% of the celebrities that you see on TV every day, half of these niggas is not even from here. How many people knew that Cicely Tyson was Farrakhan's first cousin? Did y'all know that? No. You ain't know that though, right? See what I'm saying? All these niggas is related. That's what I'm trying to say. Like you following people. We following people. We don't know where these people came from, who they are, what they talking about, but they want to tell you that what you are isn't good enough. So it's better for you to be a Pan-Africanist than a Moorish American. It's better for you to be this than that. It's better for you to not have a nationality and identify with being black and African than actually having a nationality, establishing a state and a trust and everything for yourself, because we don't like Moors because Moors say they're not black. But guess what? Black is a word of art that actually means being white. So anybody that wants to be black is somebody that wants to be white. And black people want to be white people, right? That's what it is. That's what they do. They bleach their skin, they put blonde weaves on, they marry white women, they do whatever they could do to be like somebody else except themselves. We Moorish Americans are the only ones trying to just be ourselves. So that's what I'm saying, brothers and sisters. Love yourself. Let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater. Yes, the conscious community is effed up, but it ain't as effed up as your own personal family. You know what I'm saying? Let's stop casting stones and shit.
They got it there. And supporting
and hey, a lot of y'all got it there. Now, not everybody, because not everybody.
But 98% of these people thought that grimy looking entity that you could clearly see got some type of demon feeding in him and on him. Y'all thought that was positive. Y'all thought he just got lucky. He ain't got no sense of humor. He ain't got no nothing. I said, and this young man is not attractive.
She's saying.
So what about y'all want to like something that's ugly and that looks like he just attract girls from group homes? Now I used to work in a group home, so much love to women that go through that. But y'all know them sisters that don't get out of that mentality, that stay looking for somebody that's will take their broken ass, and it's men like that that give these women a little uniform and make them think that they actually are better than they are. A lot of these women are not healthy.
And again,
they were molested and raped and weren't given counsel and healing, and now they're doing this to their daughters for money. Don't think these mothers aren't getting a check,
especially out here in Miami.
They're Miami, like, oh word.
85% of the females that you see walking around here, whether they Ashkenazi, black, Indian, Cuban, whatever, they home.
These mothers,
that's what it is.
It's like word.
I've been out here 13 years. I've seen some wild shit.
They sell the young vagina.
They're what now?
They be hoeing, they be prostitutes.
They sell their daughters off because they don't have vaginas that can attract $10,000 in one fell swoop.
And
so
this
they
has
sell.
happened in my family. I have people in my family. I'm not trying to cut you. I'm just trying to bring it up because I know we gotta go. I'm not even saying that. I'm just saying that 90%, like she's saying, is doing that. But this is not something that's just indicative to the conscious community. That's my point. My point is to understand this all started in everybody's individual families. Okay?
Man, a lot of us make excuses for them not to.
Someone asked if Super Haru Radio is still going on.
You can get the archives off of Blog Talk Radio.
Start again.
We were thinking about doing like a podcast under that moniker again. We still talking about it.
All right, so the archives are available.
Up there on Blog Talk Radio. Just type in Super Haru Radio, and it's 7 years worth of 7 years worth of interviews. Matter of fact, all of them years, I only had one guest on that show, and that was Alexis K. Tyler. And on that show, we was going in on the so-called undertakers of the community, because we listed them. That's why I ain't got to say nobody's name now, because we were the first people to step away from the whole thing, but still maintain a presence in the community, and that was not respected. And people that you saw me in the initial videos with were some of the main people trying to shut us and kick us out of it, to the point where we, again, lost a baby to this. Like, these niggas, like, it was horrible at one point. Yet, it didn't deter what we was doing, number one. And number two, it gave us more resolve that when the time came and people actually was to see, we would then be vindicated. And I feel like this is the time now, because Allah said, I will make all enemies your footstool, those who come in my name, right? So here we are. The footstools is producing themselves, you know what I'm saying? And here we are, like, no, this is why I don't gotta be back and forth. You never gonna see me make a video about another man.
Wow.
That's my contemporary. You never gonna see me make a diss record about a person, a grown
so many
man,
emails
like that.
But maybe after what you said that he comes from, so wouldn't he? Now he's someone who could be deported, right? Or is he? Because if we're not from here, why are we never deported? Why are we never deported?
Because you doing work. You doing work for the man. You understand? Also, you got to remember, a lot of these people were compromised very early. A lot of these people come from generational sellout families.
Mm-hmm.
And meaning that there are families that are cherry-picked by the government that have ancestrally curses, but have ancestrally worked with the enemy against their own people. Okay, this ancestrally. That's what we see happening in Haiti right now. Like, Haiti is a failed state. Okay, and it's failed because the people who can actually run the government have their hand. They have a hand up they behind and is working out. Okay, so they're never gonna be as free as they can, because it's over for them until they shake off the yoke of everybody in their country that is trying to stop their upward movement. And I don't know how they're gonna do it without the Moors.
Wow. Last thing, sisters. Sister Celina, there's a question here. What from Annette Peoples? What herb is good for someone feeling weak?
What's a good herb for somebody feeling weak?
A lot of different herbs. Is it a man or a woman?
Man or a woman?
Because a woman can't do
it's a woman asking. It's a woman asking.
It's a woman
Astragalus root. Astragalus root is great for energy. So is a lot of different stuff. Maca root is really good. It depends on what she's dealing with. I don't like really giving like herbs.
I'm gonna put. Do you have contact on your website?
You know why I don't do that shout outs? Because you never know if a woman has like a liver or a kidney imbalance, or if, and a lot of herbs will affect your liver, like uva ursi, or, I'll throw an herb out, but I don't know if she's pregnant. So I don't want her to take something at the third month, the second trimester. That's where it's at. And that's why you can't just download something. But email me at, you can throw my email. I will totally be there for people.
CelinaBabina@gmail.com. CelinaBabina @gmail.com.
But the best thing to take for energy, for low energy, if you're thinking, honestly, in the morning time, do your apple cider shots. It will detoxify and energize right away. That's 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar, a teaspoon of a dash, less than a teaspoon of olive oil, cayenne pepper, just a little splash. Same thing, little purified water.
Black
You don't
seed
want
oil.
you don't want it to put the black seed oil in this specific concoction, but black seed oil is good for other purposes, and it's great for extracting and for building up your immune system. But I would not give somebody black seed oil just to energize. It does a little bit more. So no, that is good for other things, but not energy. Energy, apple cider tonic. Apple cider, purified water, half a lemon, splash of cayenne, dab of olive oil.
Natural quinine.
I'll give him a right later. Everybody,
I
no,
can say one.
he's so cute. Well, we said it on our show yesterday, so it'll be on our thing tonight. Have
Okay.
because we give everything in one fell swoop, but
We already talked about it.
They're asking to repeat the email. Is it Celina?
Celina Babina @gmail.com. CelinaBabina @gmail.com.
Okay.
Celina Babina @gmail.com.
All right.
so many emails.
Yeah, just give us a couple of days from if you write tonight, just because we get a lot of influx after the show.
All right. Listen, this has been a wonderful interview as usual. This one was even more. I'm glad we were able to. Yeah. Somebody said in the chat early on that YouTube was messing with the video, so I hope it.
See?
So I guess
this video.
Yeah.
See?
Somebody said,
Sorry, sis. I told you. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
It's just part of the magic.
That means when you tell the truth, if we weren't telling the truth, it wouldn't get messed with.
They wouldn't mess with it. Exactly. That's how I know we're doing exactly the same song that Allah put in my heart. He put in yours, and in everybody in the community, in the chat. Like everybody that has ever supported anything that we do, we greatly appreciate it. And we greatly are out here and have been striving to be worthy of whatever praise that we receive from the people, because we remember what it was like to be amongst the people trying to get this thing popping. And I tell people, if you've been in a so-called community, conscious community for more than 3 to 6 months, you a vet. You're a vet because most people don't even make it that far. You know how many people have died? Like I said, man, honest to Steve Coakley, honest to C. Freeman L., honest to all of these people that have passed before us,
Dr.
man.
Delbert Blair,
Delbert Blair, all the rest of them, mate, because they're never gonna get the respect that they're supposed to get because we have too many people that got to get cleaned out first. You know what I'm saying?
Dr. Welsing, all those,
Yes.
Anyway,
so, again, man, thank you again for having us on.
Thank you both. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Inshallah, we'll speak again soon.
Inshallah.
Peace and power to everybody. Honest to all of the Moors. Long live the Moorish Empire. Love each other. Stay together. Let's fight against the pedophiles. Let's fight against everybody that's trying to stop this. And let's not throw the whole community away because the fake people who were put to be the so-called leaders were never nominated to be that. They were never elected to be that. They called themselves that. So anybody that called themselves something, that's it. The people are the ones who decide who the master teachers and all of that is. So again, if niggas only becoming master teachers because they can fill up a lecture, that ain't it. Let's go back to what really matters, man, which is love, truth, peace, freedom, justice, and equality, man. Anything outside of that is cat. So peace, everybody.
Peace, everyone. And as we go out, just want to remind those of you looking forward to seeing you on Friday, the 27th, at our event. There are no tickets. Your name is at the door. Your appellation is at the door for however many tickets you purchase. So we hope to see you Friday. Doors open at 5 p.m. Starts at 6, and we're at 602 Vanderbilt Avenue in Wilmington, Delaware. Look forward to seeing you. and have a great evening. Peace and love.
Dr. G. Really? Who's she?
Yeah, that's me.
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 Dr. G. Really? Who's she?
Yeah, that's me.